All right, folks, here we are. Monday, October 28th. Last Monday of October already.
Right?
What the heck? Hockey
Trick
started
or
in
treat.
September, and it's the end of October already. Gosh.
New setup. We got the
Yeah,
table
yeah.
twisted around so we can see everyone's pretty faces.
Yeah, Jeff's away, so we're here to...
Greetings and salutations, as Jeff says.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is in Cleveland.
Yeah, he thought he'd go to the dog pound there yesterday and see a great game with
did
Baltimore.
he pick the right day to go there?
Oh, my God. Beautiful fall day.
I don't watch a lot of football, but I see it on the highlights. Can somebody please explain to me what the Chicago Bears defensive guy was doing in the end zone? And the game wasn't over yet.
Well, did you see him? He was mocking the crowd.
I know.
I saw the video.
Right?
I just want to know why he was doing that. And then they lose.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you caught it, but he was the guy who tipped the ball.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he goes from
29.
mocking the fans to tipping the ball.
And I work with a Bears fan.
Oh, geez.
I work directly beside, when our trucks cross paths. I said, hey, listen, I just wanted to thank you, and you can pass a message off because that Maryland Miracle, I believe
Right.
they're calling it,
That's what it's been
was the
dubbed.
third game of my parlay, and I hit a $90 win thanks to that
Nice.
catch.
Nice.
So I wanted him to send a message off to his beloved Bears. Thanks for the money.
Fantastic.
Free gas
Just,
for Balzer today.
That's awesome.
Before we go any further, I just want to Armchair Chirpers want to send condolences to John Fountain and family. Passing of his mother the other day. Friend of the show. He's been on the show. He'll be back on the show.
Joy was a great woman.
Yep. All the best, Founts. And
Thinking of you and your
Thinking of you,
family,
yep.
Founts, and Juice, and everyone.
Great fan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really good.
All right. The World Series starts.
Well, first we gotta introduce our guest.
We should do that. Brian Hawley's here again.
As usually, I pipe up before the intro.
Yeah.
Last minute, Larry.
Yeah. But no, you knew a week ahead. We had all this planned out in St. Mary's last Friday, right?
Yep, touche.
And joining us, third-year voice of
Local
the
legend.
fifth-year voice of the St. Mary's Lincolns. That's how much I was paying attention
Fact check.
in our pre-conversation before we started. I was just worried about us getting online at 5:30. Spencer Seymour, thanks for coming out.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for
He
coming,
said he won't be
guys.
much help in baseball because he's a Jays fan. Well, most of us at this table
Les
are Jays
feels your-
fans. So
feels your pain.
I'm in good company.
Yeah.
By the way, talking so much about the Bears, you have the wrong St. Mary's announcer on. You should have Cole Schnitker on here. He's a Bears fan and
geez.
certainly in mourning.
I just don't watch enough of football, but I catch
Oh,
the
me
highlights every Monday morning.
So
and that.
good. Like fantasy football, when I watch a game, like I'm a Niners fan, but like even when I'm watching my Niners, and I'm in such a good mood today when the Niners beat the Cowboys last night. Like, gotta love that. But watching NFL football, when you're in fantasy football, you don't care what team wins. You just want your players to score points.
It completely skews the way you watch
It
football.
really does.
I am watching a late fourth quarter nothing game between Atlanta and Tampa. I don't care who wins the game. I honestly don't. But I need the tight end
because
for
either
Tampa to
you
get another
or the guy
touchdown.
you're playing against that week has players that
run the clock, get this game over before my guy.
My problem with football is these guys make a crap ton of money and play once a week.
That's all physically they can take.
Yeah,
like,
but I know, but
less.
I'm just used to watching baseball and hockey.
It's the most violent sport.
In fairness,
more
only the
violent than
quarterbacks.
hockey.
Yeah.
Only the quarterbacks make as much as the stars. In basketball or baseball.
Yeah.
But and actually, I am loving 590 The Fan every morning. They are just ripping Aaron Rodgers to shreds.
And he deserves. I used to be an Aaron Rodgers fan. Full disclosure, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, yes.
But he has just made an embarrassment of himself and the Jets by getting Robert Saleh fired, and like all the players and like everyone on the TV shows are mentioning Saleh, saying, "Hey, buddy, it wasn't your fault." Like everyone is in his corner, and now you've got Rodgers. Oh, it was the coach's fault. Oh, I don't have enough wide receivers. Like it's who is he going to blame this week, right? It's
a circus. It's funny.
it really is.
All right, let's end the football talk.
That's the most we've talked about.
I
football
think it is.
ever,
That's the
right?
most sustained
I love it.
time limit
Yeah.
of football. Well, the World Series starts with a bang Friday night, like a
Oh
bang.
my God.
I got home from hockey and turned the game on, and I'm like, where has this been all my life?
Well, you didn't think that you could top the American League Championship Series with the Guardians and the Yankees. Like, that was dramatic. And then all of a sudden, you've got these two teams going at it, slugging it out. And, like, of course, everybody saw Freddie Freeman's,
Great
game-winning-
Canadian kid.
And a lot of people, including myself, didn't know that. Like, his father's from Windsor, mom's from Peterborough, Ontario.
Yeah.
And he plays for Canada at the World Baseball.
It was
did,
funny
yep.
in his interview. He goes, "My mom's from Peterborough, Ontario. That's in Canada." And I'm like, "Really?"
He was born and raised in California.
Yeah.
But I loved it after he hit his walk-off. He goes right over to his dad at the netting and, slapped hands with him. And he said, if it wasn't for my dad, he says, I wouldn't be here,
Yeah, he
because
said
he wanted to quit.
Yep.
And his dad's like, why don't we do a little bit more BP? And he said he kept me into it, like after his mom died when he was young. And he says, I just kind of lost my drive to play it. And it's a real heartwarming story. Like, he wears sleeves, the pressurized sleeves on his arms in memory of his mom because she died of melanoma cancer. So,
And his dad still throws him batting practice.
Yeah.
And he said he
That's
doesn't
pretty
like
cool.
anybody else throwing him batting practice. And he goes, he doesn't take it easy on me either.
If that's not deep enough.
Yeah.
Okay. He's hobbling up to the plate like like he's Kirk Gibson.
Like Kirk
himself.
Gibson.
Like Kirk, and
Yes.
36
Like,
years.
He missed games 5 and 6 of the LCS.
Right.
Because he couldn't hardly walk on his ankle.
yep.
And his son had a near-death illness.
Right.
Yep.
This past winter.
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you've got a guy who is at least 50% Canadian, born Canadian.
Unreal.
Fighting through injuries,
Yep.
fighting through personal trials and tribulations. And could you think, like, you just can't write
can't-
this?
Unreal.
can't write that.
I was actually going to wear my Dodgers jersey, and I went, no.
You'd have Rhett going to his bedroom. He'd be all excited with that.
Wow, yeah, poor Rhett. Like, he was down, saying, it's going to be Yankees in 7 there last week when we had him on. Which, hey, Rhett, you helped us, buddy. Like, we've had record viewers on YouTube, and so thank you for all your buddies and for your input. What a great show it was last week.
It's the Rhett Chessel curve.
Yes.
They got the bell curve in school. We'll call that the Rhett Chessel curve.
It was great. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So, the Dodgers come back. Everyone saw it. Bottom of the 10th. They end up winning it 6-3. 10 teams have been down 2-0 in the World Series and have come back to win it. 4 times, it was the Yankees. So, hey, folks, they're not out of it yet. And the next 3 games, I was only hoping for the Yankees to get a split, because then if they won the next 3 that are in New York, then they wouldn't have to go back to LA. And that's a crappy thing. Like, we've talked about it on previous shows about why they shouldn't do that format. I get it. They're saving on travel. But just ask the Detroit Red Wings when they played the Sharks and never made it back to Detroit.
And that's the biggest reason why the NHL does not do that
And
anymore.
they'll never do that ever again.
No.
Yeah. Archer Zerbe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They split in Detroit,
Yep.
won the next 3 in San Jose, and never made it back to Detroit.
94?
Somewhere
somewhere
in
in
that.
there.
Yeah.
Year after the Leafs. put
They're-
them out
yeah,
in
after the
7.
Leafs put them out.
Yeah. And so, you got the Dodgers feeling pretty good about themselves. They're grinning like jackass eating thistles right now as they head into NYC.
Jackass
and
eating thistles. What the heck?
but,
And I thought mentioning Arthur's Urbe in a baseball conversation was going to be the weirdest part.
but
Like
yeah,
we said,
it's-
Spencer, you can get paradoxes going here, and a squirrel will go by, and that's it. We're going to have a
Right.
jackass eating a thistle now.
I fit right in.
Yep.
So, like, you've got Ohtani with subluxation. Is that what the official term was?
Subluxation, yeah. So
Sliding there into
That's a word even
Yeah.
I haven't
I
used.
love them.
it sounds like it's a partial, not a separated shoulder, but almost a separated shoulder. They say he'll wear a brace, and he's going to lead off tonight. So,
Wow.
but as Brian, what did you say? He's at Yankee Stadium, so he only needs one
He
arm?
only needs one arm to hit it out of Yankee Stadium. It's a little league park. Face it. I mean,
Right
all
field.
the respect for Aaron Judge or whatever, but right center
Right.
field, I could hit it out of right center field, and I stand by that. I will.
Yeah.
I will stand by that to the day I
Yeah.
die. The ball, it's short porch, and the ball carries. So
What-
at the end of the day,
The thing, and hey, and this isn't sour grapes. I'm just speaking facts. Like the Dodgers, full marks. Like they are legit. They are no like Cinderella story. But in Game 1, you've got Aaron Boone pulling out Garrett Cole after 88 pitches. What was he talking to Ross Atkins and Shapiro? Like the way that they yank their pitchers out when they're only dominating the games, right? Like, so let's get them out of there so that, you know, mayhem can happen. But you've got that, and then you've got Ohtani there in the 8th inning. He hits the double into right field. Soto throws it into Gleyber Torres at second base. They gave the error to Soto for the throw, not for Torres making a mistake and trying to short hop it. That sends Ohtani over to third base. Very next pitch, you got Mookie Betts, sac fly to center field, and now it's 2-2.
Well-
If that doesn't happen, they probably, you know, the Yankees win Game 1, but
Yeah. And there was also the reaching over the fence, pulling the ball in that you know,
Right.
probably
That-
was going to hit the fence anyways, but
that wasn't going to get out.
no.
but
we were talking Saturday about that, and it happened at Yankee Stadium. That
Right.
young kid reached over.
But that
and got it.
gave the Yankees a home
because
run.
they didn't have
the
its
replay at the time,
replay,
right?
Yep, exactly.
But that was
So
against the
other
Orioles.
thing too that bothered me as a baseball manager is I'm wondering why nobody was backing that throw up.
Right.
I know
yeah.
where the pitcher's going. The pitcher's got to go over to third base and
Yeah.
back up that throw
Yeah.
in case it comes that way. But nobody. What was?
The shortstop
Well, no, it's
or first base.
what's his name? The lefty first baseman. for the
Rizzo.
Yankees. Rizzo. What's he doing?
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
standing there watching him run. You know, as I tell Pee Wee baseball players, if you're standing there while the play's going on, you ain't playing baseball,
Right.
son. You're watching baseball.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was disappointed that, you know, at that level, and you would say that maybe at the level I coach and below, you wouldn't have a first baseman with the wherewithal to cover that throw up. But we're not at that level.
Right.
We're at the highest level.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know what I mean? Obviously, the second Torres should have not tried to short hop it.
Right.
Having said that, you also have to say, great base running by Ohtani.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jumped. As soon as he
Absolutely.
saw it go past,
He saw it.
jumped.
Yeah.
And he went a few steps and realized he could make it. And then, like, he still had the opportunity to go 10 or 12 steps and then bust it back. So great
Yeah.
base running on top
It's
of
just
that.
exciting.
And
like
it's
it,
the
like
little
it-
things
right.
that win baseball games.
But even
Little
if
thing
the
like-
Yankees don't win it, right? I don't care. I just want to see good baseball. I don't want to see blowouts. I just want to see good games. I
Mm-hmm.
would love if my Yankees win, but whether they do or not, I just want to see some good baseball. And we've been spoiled.
Yeah.
Up till
And
now,
Aaron
touch
Boone
wood.
also got roasted bringing in Cortez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going with the percentages lefty on lefty matchup.
Well,
Having
You're
said
right.
that, it doesn't matter what arm you throw. If you take another look at where that pitch was, basically high thigh inner half, you
And
know,
this-
it doesn't matter what arm you're throwing it with. When you put it in the spot, you put it in.
and this, folks, this is why they call us the Armchair Chirpers, because looking back at what Boone did, he had a chance to pitch to Betts, so he walks Betts to load the bases to get to Freddie Freeman, who's a career versus lefties with the bases loaded, 14 at bats, 4 grand slams, 25 RBIs.
Sorry, five grand slams now.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, they were talking about that. He chose to walk Betts. Well, and everybody says, "Oh, you pitch the Betts, this doesn't happen." Who says it doesn't happen?
Might have still happened.
You got Mookie Betts up there,
Yeah,
Pick
Betts-
one of the
poison.
best players in Major League Baseball
Bum.
right now.
He was until like this year. He hadn't done a whole lot in the playoffs for a period of time,
He
but
caught fire in the
He
Cleveland
has,
series, though.
yeah.
Or the Mets series,
Mets.
sorry.
Yeah,
And now he's back to being who Mookie Betts is.
yeah,
Former Detroit, Boston Red Sox player.
right.
Thank God.
I think.
Thank God he's gone from the division.
I think Boston would like a do-over on that one, but
they were dumping at the time. They dumped everybody at
right.
that time. Right?
Well, they had won, 2 or 3 World Series, and then thought, you know what, we got to make money and reduce payroll. But anyways, they're up 2-0. Game 3 tonight. Should be interesting. You've got Buehler pitching for LA and Schmidt for the Yankees.
And Shohei Ohtani leading off for the Dodgers.
Nice.
And I
So
have
how
a
many of you
feeling-
can read lips?
Well, I just want to go on record to say I don't see either starter getting to the fifth inning.
Yeah.
I think you'll be into both bullpens by the fifth.
Like, yeah.
Who knows, right? Like, no team has ever come back from being down 3-0 in MLB. It has in hockey.
Not in the World Series. It's happened
Correct. Sorry.
The
yeah,
Yankee-
in the
your
World
Yankees did
Series.
it.
Yes.
to Boston.
Yeah. Well, Boston did it to my Yankees.
Or sorry, it's the other way
Yes,
around, wasn't
yes,
it?
Yes. But yeah, you're right. In the World Series, yeah, no one has
never
ever
happened in the
done
World
it in the World Series. So
So how many of you can read lips?
Uh,
Like when
Depends
Roberts
how
comes
many
out,
Miller
when
Lights
Roberts
we've had.
when Roberts comes out of the dugout with Ohtani rolling around out in second, you could just see him go, "Oh fuck!" He's like, "Damn it! Here we go. What are we gonna do now?"
well, they had they were mic'd up, but it was all in Japanese because the translators out there, and they're speaking all in Japanese, but they didn't have the closed caption turned on Fox when I was watching it. But yeah, I can only imagine what he was saying. But thank God that he's not out for the series because let's face it, like dream matchup. Even though Ohtani and Judge have been like the afterthoughts, they haven't really done a whole lot. Ohtani's had a couple of hits, but like, let's face it, we want to see dingers, right, from those two guys, and they haven't been able to do that. Judge has been terrible.
how terrible? Historically
Yes,
bad.
yeah.
In
Yes.
fact, I'll give you another number. His playoff batting average is now the second worst in baseball history.
Oh, geez.
He's batting under the Mendoza line. For those who are not in the know, that's under 200.
200, yeah.
So Dodgers game 1, most watched World Series game
14.5 million.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah. It's a chess game. You don't get the young kids, like we said last week. Rhett's generation, it's too slow. Like, they're used to gaming and things are like really quick. That's why hockey and that, resonates with that younger generation. So to get those kids interested in baseball and do that, like that's great. It's only going to grow the sport.
So 15.2 million viewers. Only what does that say? The 36th World Series game since 2018 to crack 15 million.
Hey, funny thing I saw on the highlights today when they were interviewing all of the Dodgers, and Teoscar Hernandez is sitting up front, and they went to the next reporter to ask a question, and they go, Hazel May?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Teoscar's eyes just, hi, Hazel.
Yeah. I
But-
saw that. He was pretty enthused.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I read today was this being the 31st, what they call the sports equinox. And it is only the 31st day in history where all 4 major sports are being played on the same day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is actually, I think, the 7th time since 2015, mostly because the World Series
Right.
baseball season lasts forever. NBA and hockey are starting earlier.
Right.
Of course, football is right in mid-season,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
you've got the World Series being played in New York. You've got the Monday Nighter being played in Pittsburgh. The
Yep.
Giants about to be made fodder by the Steelers. And, of course, you've got a bunch of hockey and
And the Leafs on Prime.
And the Leafs, and you can't even watch Leafs on TV unless
Yes,
you
you
pay
can.
for it.
Just get Prime. It's free. And then cancel it and get it again.
Right.
You guys
You don't
need
want
to know
make
how to
it
work
too
the
easy,
system.
right?
I have it because I order my wife orders so much from Prime, so from Amazon. So for people out there, if you have Amazon Prime to get your packages, you have Amazon Prime TV.
Okay.
It's part of your subscription.
Tell all the seniors that don't order on Amazon, that don't have Apple accounts for the Blue Jays. Like
Call the
those
Blue
are the
Jays.
ones that they're alienating.
Call the
right?
Blue Jays.
Get Amazon accounts.
There was some sad news for the Dodgers. Fernando Valenzuela passed
Right.
away.
Yes.
I remember watching him.
Fernando Mania.
Yes.
The eyes up to the heavens when he's pitching, right?
Yep.
It was we all tried to do the same thing.
And of
We
course
never get it to the catcher.
The screwball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would spin it the other way, and that was like, it was a precursor to today's changeup.
Yeah.
But he was the first one that would ever throw the things, that he could basically throw a curveball that was like a right-handed
Yeah.
pitcher. He was a lefty, and he could throw the screwball, which looked just like a right-hander's curveball. It was nuts. What a
Well, he
weird
came
pitch.
in like I after he passed away. I remember seeing him as a kid, but I researched his career, and he came in September and played like a couple of games when the Dodgers were ending their season, and then the following year when he still qualified to be a rookie. That's when he really took over. So those
The Blue
few
Monday
ga-
year.
yeah. Right? Yeah.
It still goes
And
back.
he
to
was
those-
the pitcher in, I think, at Olympic Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. He's the one who pitched that game on Blue Monday when Rick Monday hit the homer to break the Expos' hearts.
Yeah, and talking about the Expos, I watched another documentary, which for me is not out of the normal because I love sports documentaries. On the Expos, the demise of the Expos, and it's pretty good.
Wow.
It was on Crave. I think
Okay.
it was on Crave, and it was pretty good. It goes through the demise, who killed the Expos, and who was really.
Well, you look at all the
responsible.
guys like Gary Carter
Yeah.
and
and you know who it was? It was Jeffrey Lurie.
Jeffrey Lurie,
Yeah.
who later ended up
Right.
showing up owning the Miami Marlins.
yes, yeah,
He made them so bad that the league had to shut them down.
right.
It's-
And then they went to Washington, did they not? I think they
No,
moved them to Washington.
They ceased. There is no translation between the Expos and Washington.
Okay.
Because the Major League Baseball made them cease operations.
Wow.
They,
Everybody says that's-
technically speaking, because I know Expos fans,
Yep.
buddies of mine, who are Washington Nationals fans,
Okay.
because they were the old Expos.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the roster, Gary Carter, one of my heroes growing
Yep.
up,
Yep.
the best outfield in baseball,
Andre Dawson,
Rock
which
Rains.
was
Tim Raines,
Larry Walker,
Walker, yeah,
Marquise
Yep.
Grissom,
Oh, the 94.
and
Yep.
Moises Alou.
Yep.
crazy,
And those guys were unbelievable. Add Tim Wallach on third base.
yeah.
And it's been a long time now.
Jeff
Yeah,
Wetlaufer in the pen.
Oh, yeah, Wetlaufer. Oh, and by the way, they drafted some tall, skinny, left-handed kid
Right,
named Randy Johnson.
Johnson, yeah.
And they also
And they
drafted
burned through-
drafted some kid named Tom Brady too.
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
They-
True story.
What did he ever do?
Right?
Nothing in
Who's
baseball.
Tom Brady?
So yeah,
That's funny.
Randy Johnson.
Randy
yeah.
Johnson burned through three pitching coaches, and nobody could teach him how to throw strikes. So they traded him to Seattle. Now, in fairness, they were looking for a pennant. They were loading up, and they
Right.
traded for a guy named Mark Langston.
Yeah.
Yes.
If memory
yeah,
serves
he
me.
was a lefty too.
He was a
not?
lefty starter, and he was an all-star that
Right.
year. And so they got what they wanted, but I don't think they were prepared for first ballot Hall of Famer
Right.
with 3,000 or so strikeouts
Crazy.
and
a
one
pigeon.
dead bird.
And a dead pigeon.
And
Dead Seagull.
Wasn't at Exhibition Stadium, wasn't it?
was
no,
it
that was
Winfield.
Winfield.
Oh, right.
I don't know where that one was, but it wasn't just dead. He obliterated
It
that
might
thing.
have been Yankee Stadium, where it was an actual pitch, and the
Right.
bird flew right in front of the
Right
plate
in
just as
front.
the pitch came in, and next thing you know, it looked like a cartoon.
Wow.
Where it was just feathers.
Yeah.
It looked like Daffy Duck getting shot by Elmer Fudd. That's what it looked like.
Love it. Love it.
Well, their pitching staff, the Expos pitching staff in '94 had the likes of Ken Hill, Jeff Ferrasso, is that it? Pedro Martinez,
Oh, yeah,
He wasn't
right.
bad.
John Wetland,
Yep.
Dennis Boucher.
Canadian
Yep.
from Quebec.
Yeah, there's a couple
Denis.
others.
Denis Boucher.
Jeff Shaw. I didn't know Jeff Shaw played ball. Jeff,
right.
what the
Yep.
heck?
Shawzer.
Shawzy.
A lot of guys don't know he had the best knuckleball in fastball at one point.
Yeah. They had
Wow.
it's that team, I just keep going back to that '94 team. It's your top nine were you had Darren Fletcher catching, Cliff Floyd at first,
Cliff Floyd, that's
Mike Langston at second, Will Cordero playing short, Sean Barry playing third, Moises Alou left, Marquise Grissom center field, and Larry Walker in left field.
Oh, remember Olu when he was in Chicago? No, where was he when he was rounding first and he dislocated his ankle? Oh my God.
Was it not in Montreal where that Dodgers pitcher broke his arm pitching?
Oh yeah, after
Who
he
was
threw
that?
after he threw the ball, he fell.
Was that Dennis Martinez?
No, it wasn't. It was.
Oh, I remember seeing that, and that was gross.
Oh, he had cancer too.
Yeah.
Moise Alou, you found later on playing for Chicago.
Oh, with the foot turned the other way.
Yeah.
No.
But that was when he
Who
was
do you
with
think
the
was
Expos.
playing right field in the Bartman incident?
Oh, yeah.
Moise
yeah.
Alou
Moise
was
is
playing
right.
Yeah, yeah.
left field.
No, he
excuse
left
me.
field.
Left
Left
field.
field. Yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah,
playing
yeah.
left
Yeah.
field when Bartman reached
That's
out
right.
and did his
At
infamous,
Wrigley Field.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
Against the Marlins.
Against the Marlins.
Yep.
There you go. Story time here on Armchair.
Holy moly. See,
not always bad
Spencer,
being
look
old,
at what
Spence.
happens when we bring, last minute Larry on. He's,
bring-
I'm getting paid for this appearance, so this is the easiest money I've ever made.
I don't know
well,
what
he
kind of
warned
money
us
you're
when he
getting.
first came. He goes, "Hey guys, this first segment, I don't know a whole lot about ball. I'm a Jays fan, but I'll let you guys wait and you join me for hockey." So.
That was my first mistake, being a Jays fan.
right. Well, you know
It's
what?
not a
It's-
mistake.
Hold up now.
Hey, in 2015, it wasn't a mistake.
No.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about like kids enjoying baseball. There is a speed, issue for people, my generation and younger. But if you win, young people will watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like there aren't many young baseball fans for the Jays in this country because they stink.
Yeah. Well,
Well, it's not that they stink.
they've made other than
Oh,
this
they kind
year-
of stink.
This year
They've been going downhill, but it's going to be interesting next year. And we've talked about it on earlier podcasts where, for the first time in history, back in the summer, the Jays were asking for season's ticket deposits before the All-Star break. First time in history they've ever done that. Geez, I wondered if they were considering getting rid of like Guerrero and Bichette. They wanted to get the money in before the trade deadline, and as it turns out, they ended up keeping both of them. But man, oh man, it's going to be interesting. Like when you got your own hometown fans yelling "Fire Atkins" at every home game, like that's tough. That's tough.
I tell you what I found interesting about the end of the season, second half anyway. Everybody talks up Bo Bichette, and I like Bo Bichette. And here's a guy who led the league in hits 2 years straight.
Yep.
But defensively,
Suspect.
even if you give him the credit he deserves for being a better shortstop over the last couple of seasons, he went down for 6 weeks,
Yes.
and nobody noticed.
Yeah.
And that was the part that really
No,
got to
nobody
me, is
really
the fact
said much.
The record was getting better. They were more competitive. The lineup was turning over better. They were moving runners over. And then all of a sudden I realized, I went, you know what? This lineup not only did not miss a beat when Bo went down, the lineup actually got better.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, Bo had a crap year. He had a nightmare of a year.
Right.
Right? He came out cold.
Yep.
He wasn't batting his weight for the first 6-8 weeks of the season. And then he had 2 separate injuries, what cost him time. But the thing that really grabbed me is that he was gone. When Vladdy's out, you notice it.
Right.
There's this big old empty, crappy lineup that has nothing to scare you with.
Right.
When Springer's doing nothing, even all those young kids they're bringing in. Varsho, love him on defense, but he don't scare you.
No.
You know what I mean? All these kids that came up and played, they don't scare you. Kirk, he don't scare you unless you're at a buffet. And
It's true.
Yeah, it
Right,
is.
You're
It
a
is.
major
It
league
is.
ball
So
player,
all
and
I'm saying is-
a single when he's on second base, when he's standing on second, a single does not guarantee that he's going to cross home
a
plate.
double doesn't guarantee he's going to cross
Right?
home plate. But that's another. My only point is, I don't think they can sign them both. So
I don't think he wants to.
I
sign.
don't see how you don't trade Bichette in the offseason.
Absolutely.
I don't see any scenario where Bo Bichette is with this team on opening day, because if he is,
It's just going to be a circus.
what are you going to get for him at the trade deadline?
Right.
You're going to get a second-rate left-handed pitcher,
And if he gets hurt,
because they need pitching
Right.
badly.
Yeah.
Now, what they would really like is if he comes out and hits 300 and leads the league in hits, and then you can trade him and maybe get a higher level. But I mean, when they traded Kikuchi, they got a king's ransom for him.
Right.
They got they did well in the trades that they made.
Very well.
But you're not going to sign them both. You're not going to sign both Laddie and Bo.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why they didn't trade Bo already, and then he got hurt and it was too late.
That's right. Yeah, because they knew that they were selling from a position of weakness if they ended up doing anything with him this year.
Exactly.
But
his stock has never been lower than it is.
it's
right
never been lower. And then when they were out in San Francisco there in the summer, and he did an interview with San Francisco's NBC reporter, and he said, yeah, I'd be interested in coming to a team like San Francisco. They're proven winners. Like, you're basically just dying on your sword saying that I don't want to play in Toronto anymore, and the first chance I can get out of there, I'm gone. Like, he does not want to play in Toronto.
And when he talks about proven winners, we're talking about a team that had one good season out of the blue where they took the division away from
In minor
LA.
league ballparks.
And I'm talking about San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco.
Wow,
yeah.
they had more than one good season.
No, they only had one good in the last 10 years. When he says proven winners,
Yeah.
they haven't
Yeah.
won the World Series since 2014.
Yep.
They won in
Is that the
2010,
last time?
2010, 2012, 2014.
With Buster Posey
And 2012, let's face it, they
Wow,
had
it had
the third
been that
worst.
long.
They had the
Wow.
third worst record in history that made the playoffs.
Wow.
And then rolled through the playoffs.
Like
and
Baumgartner.
But who pitched for San Francisco when they were making the playoffs in just before COVID?
Kershaw.
Their best pitcher was Gossman.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
And now he's in Toronto.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah.
he says they're a proven winner, he's talking about 10, 12, 14
Right.
years ago in the past. And here's another fun fact. You'd be a proven winner, too, if you won a goddamn playoff game that you went 2 or 3 years straight and never won a game
Right.
in the playoffs. You'd be a proven winner,
Right.
too.
Thank you for
Except you sucked.
Thank you for saying that, because I was sitting here for the last 30 seconds and I was about to just scream into the microphone. What does Bo Bichette know anything remotely about being a quote proven winner? That's
Well,
exactly.
that's like
That's
me
exactly
saying
my
I am a proven dietitian. Like, it's not. I am not a proven dietitian at all, and I have no right to say that. I can't spell the word salad.
Oh, boy.
Really, Bo Bichette knows what a proven winner is?
All right.
Bite me.
As good as Bo is, and don't get yourself. I like Bo as a ball player, whatever, but he and I have won the exact same amount of MLB playoff games.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is I just think it's his energy. You're right, because you didn't have guys talking about him, like when they would be interviewed and stuff. You never heard anyone talk about Bo Bichette. The fans didn't talk about him. The players didn't talk about him. Like,
Not even Buck Martinez, who is in love with
Right.
almost every Blue Jay that ever
Right.
played the game.
yeah,
He didn't say anything about Bo either.
no, and honestly,
poof.
that speaks volumes.
I thought so too.
Right.
That's the thing where you go all of a sudden you sit there and go, oh yeah,
Yeah,
our shortstop's not playing.
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
And that's it. Really grabbed me
Yeah.
at the time. How is it I don't notice when I tell you what, the team that I coach, when my starting shortstop's out, he better be pitching,
Right.
Or I'm worried about him.
Like when Tulowitzki, when he came over there in 2015, like we were talking about before, it was just exciting. They had just traded for Donaldson, Tulo. They ended up getting David Price from Detroit. I was fortunate enough. The Yankees were in town.
Tampa Bay, they got Price from, did they not?
No, he was
from
from
Detroit.
he was with
Oh, then he went
Detroit.
to Tampa after Toronto? Or was he in?
He went
Tampa
Tampa
Bay
to
before.
Detroit.
It wasn't Tampa, then to
Detroit.
Detroit. Then he came to Toronto. But I ended up going to a game with my ex and my 2 daughters. And we were sitting at Real Sports Bar. And I'm on my phone. I'm on StubHub. And I looked at Jen and I said, those $65 seats, we were in first row in the upper bowl at third baseline. And I said, those $65 seats, I said, Jen, we could get $1,000. Like the mania, it was a small scale of what the World Series is right now. But she's like, let's sell them. And I'm like, no. And it was electric. Like, it was great energy at
Well, I was there for
Rogers.
playoff games both those years.
Yeah.
And I've been going to the Dome since it opened.
Right.
Since day 5
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard. Like, was it? I can't remember which year, whether it was 15 or 16. But Donaldson hit a home run in the first inning, the bottom of the first.
Right.
And of course, the roof was closed because MLB mandated it, even though it was a nice day
Yeah,
outside.
crazy.
Playoff games are owned by the league, though, and they get to dictate that kind of thing.
Right.
But he hit a home run in the bottom of the first, and I'm standing right beside my
Deafening.
dad, and he is trying to tell me something, and I can't hear him. It was like being at a Bills game in the playoffs.
Oh, in the
on
90s.
third and long
Oh,
in the 90s.
Jim
where
Kelly.
you're literally standing beside someone screaming at them, and they can't hear.
Unreal. Yeah, when you've got the visiting team in the red zone and they're, like first and goal, Buffalo, nobody circles the wagons like the Bills do.
All I can say about those 2 years is 2015, you still have the wildest, and I mean wildest, seventh inning I have ever seen in my life.
Maybe in baseball history.
And
Right,
probably will never
right.
see it again because that was some of the wildest things I've seen. How many times can Martin throw the ball back to the pitcher and not hit the guy's bat?
Right.
And then
Just-
the bench is clearing and then the bat flip. That's a bat flip. These guys are getting in trouble.
You want to talk about a roar inside a stadium? Go back and listen when Bautista hits that home run.
Yeah.
There is a sound I have never heard from any baseball game. It is not a cheer.
Yeah.
It is a guttural roar.
And the last time I heard that roar at
Joe
the Dome,
Carter.
Joe Carter.
Carter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Touch them all, Joe.
Yeah.
You'll never hit a bigger one.
Yeah.
And that inning was not just epic, but it was long.
And it was like an hour.
Yeah.
And fun fact that at the time I was living in Milton, running a little store up there, and I closed the store, and I hopped in my truck and was on my way to Stratford to pick up my kids. So I'm in Milton. It's an hour drive, almost bang on from Milton to Stratford, and the bottom of the seventh had started. Excuse me, the top of the seventh had
right.
started. And I listened to it to Tom and Jerry on the radio.
Yep.
Driving down the 401. It was Kitchener before the top of the inning was over.
Jeez.
And I'm telling you, Bautista hit that home run when I was in Shakespeare. That's how long that inning was. It was 45 minutes from the top of the inning to the point where Bautista hit that home run, and they were still cleaning up the mess. Remember the baby got hit with a beer can in the top of the inning? Oh, my God. The mess that was that.
And then,
was nuts.
and then the bench is cleared. And twice the bench is cleared.
Well, let's face it.
After that.
Like, that was the bat flip to end all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Well, wasn't that earlier in the season with Bautista going into second?
No, that's the next year.
That was the
first
following
game.
year.
First game at the
Okay.
Rangers when he goes hard into second.
And Rugnet Odor punched
Odor,
him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Baseball
Punched him.
fans
So
everywhere
far, his
celebrated it.
sunglasses went off his head into the
Up in
field.
the air.
Yeah. The last baseball thing I have for you guys, and we can talk more if you want, but Shohei Ohtani 50-50 ball. $4.39 million. I got a question for you. They still haven't distinguished who the owner is.
Right.
So it's still on hold. That guy in the if you
18-year-old
watch it,
kid and a grown man.
But I'm talking about the first guy that touched it with his fingers. Okay. And Tim and Sportsnet, he says this all the time. He says $4.39 million. I would have been laying out over top of the barrier to catch that ball.
But like that guy should say to the kid, look I'll give you $1 or $2 million. Like even if you walked away with $2 million, like seriously, like get it over with.
Like layout? Are you kidding me? I could tell you a story, man. I was at Deep Purple, and Ian Pace at the end of the show was throwing his sticks out into the crowd, and I ran over 3 teenage girls to get a stick from Ian Pace. All right, so for a $2 million baseball, there
Right.
would have been fatalities.
Right? Oh,
The
geez.
authorities don't listen to this show, do they?
No.
Well,
That wasn't a threat.
No.
That was a promise.
So-
actually, some of our biggest supporters are authorities, which is always
love
good.
it.
Some of our biggest fans are potential murderers too,
Yeah,
but that's beside the point.
Yeah, we all have a good thing.
All
We
right,
got
we
You know
some.
what we're talking about.
Well, why don't we get into some sponsorship acknowledgments, and then we'll go to a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back with the NHL. We'd like to thank, as always, Reboot Repair for putting on world headquarters for our podcast. Stratford's best computer support and services, personalized IT solutions, hardware, software repairs, on-site and business services.
And for this fabulous new setup.
Yes.
Everybody can be seen now.
Yeah, exactly. It only took us a couple, but hey, we're slow learners, right? Better late than never.
What if we had our guest being able to be seen on the show instead of just Jeff and Les? Might be a good idea.
Yeah. SBS Metals, metal fabrication with professional craftsmanship. Stratford's preferred custom commercial and residential metal fabricator. And as always, our good friends from Domino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Armchair Chirpers. Get a free large 3-item pizza if you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Take a screenshot and come to Reboot Repair for your free large 3-item pizza. 2 locations on Ontario Street and Huron. And Joe's Diner, the official breakfast and lunch diner of the Armchair Chirpers. Home of the world-famous Perth County breakfast.
Number 4.
Right. Locally owned and operated by the Myers family.
What a great family.
Don't forget the Friday night meatloaf.
Yeah, the Friday
Right.
night meatloaf in
In
St.
St.
Mary's.
Mary's.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go to our first
All right.
break, and then we'll reconvene and pick up with those buds. What's going on with that power shortage?
Oh, boy. And we're back live. Right into the NHL. In the break, we were talking. Jeff's not here, so let's bash the Habs for 20 minutes.
Your eye, bad Skovsky.
Oh,
Headed toward another high draft pick.
jeez. Right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
hey, actually, I was looking at it today in the standings. You have two teams with over 500 records, and everybody else in the Atlantic Division has a 500 record.
Yeah.
So
it's-
everybody's still in it.
That's the
It's
crazy
early.
thing.
It's
Suppose I can't mouth off Montreal too much. They beat my Flyers yesterday. So
Yeah, and
Saturday,
Michkov
right?
didn't.
He looks good.
He does. I'm very impressed with that
We're
young
still
man.
a year or two away from being highly
Yes.
competitive.
You need
but,
goaltending.
We'll see if this monster kid they picked up turns into the guy they want, or
Yeah,
maybe
'cause-
we'll get an acquittal and get
Yeah.
our old goalie back.
The Atlantic Division, you got Florida 6-3, Tampa Bay 5-3, and then everybody else is 4-4.
Yeah. Yeah, like you've got, Buffalo, Toronto,
Yeah.
Detroit, Montreal,
Even
Boston.
Even
Ottawa.
Ottawa,
Yeah. Crazy. And Ottawa's got the second best power play in the league right now. That's crazy.
And
The Atlantic has no bad teams.
No.
And then we're all over Colorado last week, and now they're 5-0 for the week.
Yeah. Makar is second in scoring?
And that
he was
kid-
leading it, and then Stone had a hot weekend and overtook him as a leading scorer in the league. But
But I think
I think it's the kid playing net though. That's
the
The
number
biggest
one
issue.
subject is the undefeated Winnipeg
oh,
Jets.
it's crazy.
So
that is
so
crazy.
do the Jets get their just due? Like, do they get enough credit for what's
we went
going
through
on?
this last season,
And they were
Remember?
like, Jets who, right?
like the Jets.
Yeah.
Remember the Jets were up near the top. They were they not number one?
Yeah.
And
They didn't have
and Jeff and I
Yeah.
talked about it on one of the earlier episodes where we said,
they don't have an identity.
are they who are they?
Right.
Who are the Jets? We know they're a good hockey club. We know
They
they're
are
a good
who we
coach.
thought they were. You want to crown their ass
Yeah,
crown?
yeah, exactly. I pictured Dennis Green going off.
Les?
So they
Oh,
are.
good.
That's the only thing is that I think we're in the same situation. Obviously, they've got great goaltending.
Yeah,
And they've
you
got
can't
two
go
goalies
wrong.
now,
Yep.
right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end,
Yeah.
just the guys who you keep thinking are not going to sustain it just keep scoring year over year. Guys like Kyle Connor. And,
Well, you got Ehlers now leading the team, right, in scoring.
yep.
And is he not up for a contract this year? I think
I'm not
this
sure.
is a contract year for Ehlers. I'll have to look into that, but
Is he in a contract year or is he just in trade rumors?
I think it's a contract year. I thought I saw he was part of the class of 2025. They're saying is a deep free agent pool.
Yep.
A lot of big names.
I remember him from the World Juniors.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a player for
Yeah, he's got 4 goals, 6
Denmark.
assists.
Denmark.
Denmark.
Yes.
Yes.
Who became our kind of second favorite team. We had tickets that year when it was Toronto Montreal hosting the World
Right,
Juniors. And
right.
Denmark kind of became a fan favorite because they always seemed to play before Canada.
Okay.
They'd be the 4:00 game before
Right.
Canada played at 7:30.
Canadians love cheering for a country at the World Juniors who wins one game that they shouldn't.
They love cheering for a team they know won't come back to bite them in the ass.
Right.
Nobody cheers for the Russians. Nobody cheers for the
No.
Americans. Nobody
No.
cheers for the Swedes.
So-
Nobody likes the Czechs.
Yeah.
Maybe the Finns. I think maybe we remember like forever for a generation now. We've always said we like the Finns because they play quote unquote most like a North American team. You remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Because they would actually body check you, like they
Right.
actually hit. They
And
play
Sweden, and they had
know.
all those players like Forsberg
Yeah.
and all of those guys, like Lidstrom.
It's
physical. They have an amazing amount of talent for a country that
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What's shocking about Winnipeg is they're leading the league in power play at 42%. Like they're the quietest undefeated team that I can remember in a long time. Like they're
It's only
just-
8 games. So
It
that's,
is.
that's
It
not-
is, but
I
still,
get it.
It's still
but,
they're still
know,
they're chasing the record now,
An
and they
8-game
have
heater.
Toronto who owns the record tonight, right? So
an 8-game heater against
Yep.
it at any point in the NHL season is impressive.
yeah, because
They,
there's quite a few big games tonight. So there's Toronto and the Jets, but I think the
Yeah.
biggest one's going to
That's
be
in Winnipeg.
in Winnipeg.
Right? Yeah.
7:30 start
Yeah.
on Prime.
Like in Dallas is off to a
Yeah.
good start too. It's 7-2.
But the biggest, I think,
it's
one
in
of the
Tampa,
biggest game is the Tampa Bay game.
Right. Yeah.
Steven
with
Stamkos
Nashville.
comes home.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Is it? Do you think so? He's going to get the video tribute. He's going to get the
For
big
sure.
cheer.
Yep.
Do you think he gets the booze?
No.
I
don't-
hope not.
Yeah.
I hope if
all
they,
that he's done.
If they boo him, I'm gonna lose a lot of respect for Tampa Bay Lightning fans.
True.
They better not boo him. Like you know what they should do? They should boo Brisebois.
Yeah.
If you're gonna boo somebody tonight, bring signs that say F Julian Brisebois. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they boo him, then if I'm Stamkos, I just show him a picture with my Stanley Cup rings.
Right.
Say, boo these.
Yeah.
If I'm
if-
Stammer, I line up in the face-off dot and blast 3 one-timers past Vasilevsky in the first period.
I don't think they'll
I don't
boo
think.
him
I don't think
because
they will, but
I-
because he didn't leave on hard feelings. It was
Not with the fans,
not
he
with the
didn't.
fans.
He did
With
with the
management.
GM, with
Yeah.
Brisebois. Yeah, I think he did, and you know what? I blame Stamkos' agent for a lot of it too. Like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, and I'm just throwing out numbers. Like, he ended up wanting what, $7 million a year. He got $21 million over 3 years from Nashville or something. Well, that's where you say to Brisebois, you know what? Give me $21 million over 7 years. I'll take $3 million. And so even if they got if he only played like 3 years, because he's injury prone, but that
And
dead
he's
cap
36.
money is only $3 million. Like, how they couldn't have come to some sort of compromise. You're
Yeah, that's
like,
a good point. You could have paid that money
Right.
over more years.
right, stretch
after
it
he was
out
retired.
because
Yeah.
that there's a good chance that it's like Toronto with Tanev. He's not going to play out all those years that they gave him, but they're in win now mode, and I was just shocked that Tampa could not put something together to say to Stammer, look it. We need to get our money low every season so that we can go and surround you. And like Kucherov hasn't missed a beat this year. And if he could have just, I don't know, figured out something.
You know what I'd like to know, though? I'd like to know if Stamkos would have been open to that if they had called him last summer. Because remember, he showed up to Lightning training camp and was and basically said, yeah, no one talked to me
Right.
all summer.
Yep.
Because they wanted to, quote, wait and see how their year went.
Right.
Well, that's fine if you're talking about your third-line center, who you replace every 2 years anyway. But you're talking about, if not the greatest player in your franchise's
First
history,
ballot Hall of Famer.
one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he's at very least in a class that includes LeCavier
Yep.
and St.
St.
Louis.
Louis.
Andrewchuk,
Tim Taylor.
Tim Taylor,
Like that's
Tim Taylor.
it's rarefied.
Tim Taylor.
Artur Zerbe.
Tim, sorry we missed you in Toronto last
Manon Riom.
last week.
Mano, the goalie.
She was the first goalie for them, was she
was-
not?
No, first woman goalie.
No, but
Female goalie.
Yeah,
no,
she was the
she-
first goalie in Lightning history.
I think she was.
And she played in that play. Who was that drafted her? Esposito.
Phil
Phil
Esposito.
Esposito. Phil
Esposito,
Esposito.
yes.
Yeah. And she played in the preseason game.
But yeah, like I'd like to know if Stamkos would have said, "Yeah, I'll take that," but now I won't because you didn't talk to me.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
it obviously ruffled his feathers, and then he only goes out and scored 40 goals last year. Like
Yeah.
he had a great year, and
It's like
he was
Mookie
sour.
Betts, such a bum.
He was sour, right? Absolute
Unbelievable.
bum.
it's horrible hockey
Anyway,
player.
should be high drama tonight in
Yeah.
Tampa, and not to mention after a bit of a slow start, Nashville's starting
starting to pick it
together.
up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because I drafted Saros in my pool, and
Whoops.
and it spent the first week nothing but crickets. So
Yeah, 3 game.
Was that
Nashville's
George
on a 3 games.
Soros? I don't think
well,
they
Jeff.
give any penalty minutes points in hockey
did
pools.
I draft his mom or did I actually get him?
Nashville's on a 3 game heater. So
Yeah, well they'll figure it out. They're loaded, you know.
and injuries,
So what-
none listed.
So then,
Wow.
what's going on with the Buds in their last 3 games? They've or the last 4 games.
You
they're
need to score goals.
1 and 3.
Goals.
Yes,
We did re-sign Jake McCabe today to a 5-year deal,
saw that.
which I think is a good signing. He's
Well, at least have money to burn, right?
yeah.
Well, and the thing is it's not the goaltending. Like, you can't point the fingers. Like, even though their number one's been hurt, Wool's been hurt. He's only played
Marner,
one game.
Marner missed that empty net the other night.
St.
Yeah.
Louis
That
pumped him for
I
five.
could have hit.
Yeah.
I could have hit
but-
that empty net the other
But
night. That was-
Stoller's, he's got a .927 save percentage. He's not the problem, right? Like, when you can't score,
Well, Matthews has had a slow start.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a power outage
So
in Toronto.
you've got Marner leading the team with 10 points, a goal and 9 assists. He's only getting 10.9 million. You've got Matthews 4-3 for 7 points. He's getting 13.2.
Highest played pair in the NHL till
And then you
next
got
year.
Then you got Nylander at 5-2 and 7 points at 11.5. So you got the highest paid center and the highest paid right winger on your team. And look, I'm not knocking them because it's early in the season, but they've got to figure out a way. Like, Matthews serving up that pizza in overtime there, like Saturday night.
That
my
could
God.
be a candidate for pass of the year.
Right?
Yeah. That was
Like,
a tape. That was a
just-
tape to tape beauty.
It was,
That was
and I,
so I just gotta ask though, and I you know how far
Just
I go,
gotta ask.
Just gotta. I don't go. You know how far I go to defend Leafs.
Yeah.
But was that on Marner?
well, he went off the ice.
Like Marner was standing there
Yes.
with his finger up his rear end, and then all of a sudden went off the ice.
Right.
I'll go this far to defend
Right.
Matthews. It looked like Marner was still on the ice.
Well, he went behind the net, and I think
he
it was one of
turned
those
back.
no look. Like, I know
Exactly.
Mitch is
Last
there.
I looked,
yeah,
he
I
was
think
standing right there.
Right.
And now I'm going this way, and I'm going to blind pass it, and then
he's off, and
because I saw the highlight from the other end of
Yes.
the rink, and I saw Lip Marner just standing there.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he went, I'm thirsty. I'll go get a drink of water. Off he went, and then the puck came that way, and of course, when you give it away to Boston, you want to give it away to Pasternak
Right.
and Marchand.
And-
they had, 9, 10, 11 shots on net before the last one went in.
well, and
Stolar's damn near.
he made the first save.
What an incredible save.
Oh my
to
God!
Get
Yeah,
the
right
first
leg
one,
save on Marchand.
and then stopped the second one.
Yeah.
And then it was just it
Yeah.
was Snow Angels.
Yes.
And I
Here's
thought it
here's
was Pasternak.
so refresh my memory on the overtime goal. When Matthews made that pass, was there a Bruin on him?
Yeah, on
like
his
right
tail.
there?
Not
Marchand was on his
heavy.
tail.
Yeah, but not. He had a lot of room. Like, it wasn't like as if he was
He
like,
didn't- he
within
didn't-
reach of him.
He didn't have to make the pass that second.
You're correct. Yes.
No, that's
So
right.
here's my thing. So you're throwing the puck away before you have to cross the ice in front of your own net. So immediately you've done it wrong.
Well, he went behind the net.
Not
and-
quite. He went back to the net, but before he got to the net, then he sent it across.
I
And
thought
of
he went
course,
behind the
It's
net
a different
and then
era now.
threw
I
it
mean,
up
we
the
used to
boards.
get
But
benched. If we ever passed the puck across the ice in our own zone, we get benched.
right,
How-
Forever.
like-
But that's a thing now, especially in 3-on-3. I suppose.
right.
I
Yeah.
guess my thing is, okay, if there's a pass across the ice that makes sense, make it. Fine. If it makes sense, if there's an opportunity there, make that pass. You could have just sent it up the boards, get it out into center ice, and figured it out from there.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Sending the puck? Oh, let's throw it right in front of the net.
Spencer?
And the other thing you mentioned,
Let him go.
the other thing that you mentioned, Stolar's made the first save and then he made the second save in the Snow Angel. Why does he have to make 3 saves?
Are you a Leaf fan?
Is anyone home?
Are you a Leaf fan?
No, but my whole family is, so I
who
watch
do you cheer
them.
for? Who do you cheer for?
I cheer for chaos.
Montreal then.
I'm a
So you are a
recovering
Leafs fan,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
I was a Leaf fan.
Yeah.
And
You're
I
feeling
stopped.
better now?
Yeah. I am because I stopped. I felt if I stayed a Leaf fan, I felt if I did it any longer, I'd go blind.
Like my
So
old pappy used to say, being a Leaf fan's like kicking yourself. It just feels really great when you stop.
exactly. And
So you went to a farm somewhere.
I picked Winnipeg for like 6 months and it didn't work. But
So you're.
So
you're-
Stolarz has to make 3 saves at least before anyone is going to do like, and you mentioned Marner back in center ice going off for a line change. There's 2 Leafs in front of the net against 3 Bruins, and they're 3 pretty good Bruins. Like,
Yeah, they're okay. They're okay.
what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, obviously they're not doing the right thing because
Well,
it was a great tape-to-tape pass, and that's all I want to say. It was fabulous.
It's right on the money.
That's what they teach them.
Austin Matthews, noted playmaker.
here's the thing that really gets me, though, about the Leafs. Okay. So right now, they're at 10% on the power play. They're 29th in the league. Over the last 8 years, the Leafs have had the third best power play in the NHL behind Edmonton and Tampa.
Yeah.
So they bring in Mark Savard, who has been an offensive genius when he was playing. You know, great coach in Windsor, and I think he was with Calgary last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, but
Yes,
you know, they brought
He was a beauty hockey player.
exactly. He was like so good. He was like Adam Oates, you know,
little
like
bit, yep.
like passing the puck. Such a good passer. The thing that I hate about the Leafs, though, is that like when Brendan Shanahan came in, he's like, you know, we're going to hold guys accountable and we're going to change this, we're going to change that. They refuse to let any assistant coaches. You can't ask Savard what his ideas or why he feels that the power play isn't clicking. You can only talk to Berube. Like, come on.
That's the way it works, man.
So
You talk to the
they-
head coach in the major leagues. You talk to the manager. In NFL, you talk to the head coach.
Well, you can talk to the assistants in the NFL, like
So-
because I've heard before, like when special teams and stuff like that. Yes, you're right. They predominantly talk to the head coach. That's what they're there for. But come on, like they brought him in there for a reason, and it's obviously not working. It'd be nice to get his opinion on what's going on, what they got to fix. You know what I mean? Like you're in the biggest hockey market for the game, and you can't get any access. You're just listening to Berube, and I don't know. I just think they would do
In
themselves
fairness,
a lot.
I mean, they're
favor.
8 games into their
I
new
get it. I
head
get it.
coaching regime, and you know, they went on a nice little stretch there of pretty solid defensive hockey. They looked like they were difficult to score on,
Yeah.
and they've dumped 3 in a row
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So
But the St. Louis game, I thought was I watched a good chunk of that. St. Louis game was kind of ugly.
Like they got blown out in Columbus. They lose to St. Louis. And then they lose to Boston there Saturday night. And I don't get it. You're right. They're only like 9 games in, but
yeah.
you've got to start scoring on the power play.
And-
Like their penalty killing's fine. They're 9th in the league in penalty killing. Where they're sucking hind win, they're 17th in goals for with 26, and they're 17th in goals against at 28. So they're not scoring enough, and they're allowing a few too many goals, right? But
You
it's
know what's
early.
weird about that? We all sit here, and I think we'd all agree. Their goaltending, for the most part, has been good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Their defense, for the most part, has been fine. Certainly on paper, the best decor they've had in
Years
A long
God
time.
knows how long.
Long time.
from
Why
a
are
recovering
they-
addict. That's
So their defense is good, their goaltending is good, but they can't keep the puck out of their net enough. How does that work?
I just think that, you know, they're getting.
Could it
into
be
a
the
situ-
$13 million center passing it in front of the net all the time?
Well, I don't know if he's doing that, but you've got you're just not scoring enough, right? Like you're in the big leagues, but when you're the middle of the pack for scoring, you better be keeping that puck out of your own end if you want to be in the top echelon, and that's not happening right now. Like it's not SOS, or you know, if they were 29th in goals allowed, that's a different story, right? But they're mid pack right now at 17th, but
And again, it's only Monday.
Yeah.
It's only
but
Monday in an NHL season. It's only Monday.
right.
So-
But I think what's going to be interesting, because like let's face it, it's a complete mind shift change from Keefe, where they were more than happy to get into run and gun. That is not what Berube wants to get into. He wants them to focus on defense, and it's just going to be interesting.
It's funny you say run and gun because Winnipeg has come out in the media today and said they do not want to get into a track meet with this team. So-
Really?
and
Wow.
There is some history. So there is history between these two teams.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
And you can see by the line tinkering that we know there's history because Reeves is playing tonight.
Is he? Okay.
They've also brought Pacioretty is going to be on the Tavares line with Nylander.
Good. I think that'll be good.
Bobby McMahon and Domi are down to the third line.
Okay.
And they've brought the kids in. Robertson is checking back in with Pontus
Nees.
Holberg, right?
Yep. Nees had another goal.
Well,
there.
he's staying with the Marner, that line.
Okay. Yeah.
But, yeah, because they were talking, they don't want to get – Winnipeg says we don't want to get into a track meet with Toronto.
Right.
But we also need to take care of other things. So
Sure.
it's funny that there's this history between teams that only meet twice a year.
Right. Yeah.
It goes back to Spezza, losing it after a hit. Hockey players have long memories.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And even if they
Yeah.
weren't involved in it, they
take
have
receipts.
long memories of
Right.
what happened to other teams.
Well, it was
So-
like Sunday when earlier in the preseason where the Las Vegas Raiders were making fun of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like they had the Kermit the Frog thing on their social media. And then when they asked Mahomes what he thought about it, and he goes, yeah, we're just taking receipts. We'll deal with it, when we feel like dealing with it. Well, Sunday they dealt with it,
Yep.
right? And yeah, so you've got to be careful making comments, writing checks with your mouth that you can't cash. So I think it's good that Winnipeg doesn't say anything to inflame an already intense rivalry, because the Leafs need to get back on track. Like they need to light it up for a game, get 4 or 5 goals. Like that would do wonders for their psyche right now. Marner's only got 1 goal, but thank God he's, assisting. But, for all those guys that said get rid of Marner. And
Well, that's the Marner game, right? I mean,
Right.
he's a perimeter player.
Yep.
And he's got a shot. I wish he'd use his shot
He
more
does.
often than he does, but he's a perimeter player. And
Well,
it's always,
Saturday night on the power play, he had a wide open net on the left side on his off wing, and he wasn't even looking to shoot. Like he was looking to pass, and it's like, Mitch, like, come on, dude. Like you gotta, fire one. You had Swayman was over on the left-hand side having to come across, and he could have one-timed it, but he's just got to shoot it more, right?
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I like to see him use his shot more often
Yeah.
because if nothing else, you put it in the mind of the goaltender that you might shoot. When
Right.
you always pass, the goalie's giving you that post.
Right.
Because he knows you're going across. I'm just going to cheat.
Yeah,
And so every once in a while, shoot one short and high.
exactly.
And keep them honest.
Yeah.
And you never know. You stop what if you score one like that, the whole league will hear about it. Holy crap, Marner shot from the angle short
Right.
and high, and he scored. And then he'll buy himself some assists that way.
Well, Andy gets the confidence too, right? Like when you're refusing to take a shot, to me, that's just a lack of confidence, right? Like you're like, oh, I'd rather be the assist. I'm the assist guy. Okay, well, that's fine. Like Gretzky's the greatest assist guy ever, but
But he was also the
he was
greatest goal scorer.
Exactly. You can be both.
You know,
you
I-
can do both, right? Don't be
I-
afraid to pull that trigger.
I can't imagine. I never played in the NHL, not even close. Nobody ever mistake me for an NHL hockey player. But when I played,
or anybody else at this
when
table.
I played, I shot the puck.
Right.
And that's what the hell are you there for?
Right.
Adam Oates even shot it once in a while, and he
Right. Pretty good passer first.
he set up Brett Hull for most of Brett Hull's
Yeah.
career. So
We don't think about Marner in this way, but he's not I don't mean this in a traditional sense, but he is a very unique type of net front player in that he is very good at just deceiving you into thinking that he's going up the perimeter before shooting quickly in front. He can do it. He does it all the time, and he dekes the goaltender out of his jock every time he does it. And I mean, if only that, I wish he'd do that more. Because defensemen, the other thing about him being on the perimeter, everyone expects him to be on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, he's got the shiftiness to just pivot and blow by half the defensemen in the NHL and just get right to the front of the net. He's got the ability to do that. And no, he doesn't have the girth or the muscle mass to bully Nikita Zadorov in front of the net.
Right.
But man, I bet he could blow by him a few times a game.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he always he he not only feels like he has to stay on the perimeter, like it looks like he prefers it.
Well, and we've talked about before where, and that's fine. Like if he's not going to shoot, then you better be damn well setting guys up, that are going to do that, right? Like you've got to, when you're getting that much money, you've got to be doing one or the other. And he's looking for the big fat contract. Like, it's going to be interesting, right? Like he's leading the team in scoring, so you can't go, Marner's off to a slow start. Well, no, he's leading the team in scoring, and he's averaging. I think, he's over a point a game.
But he's leading a team that's having a problem scoring.
Correct. Yeah. so
and he's leading a team, and he's leading the team in scoring in October.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And I think that speaks
And
more
I
volumes
like
than the-
it
than the
derails any
words.
conversation. But if Mitch Marner plays the exact same way he's playing right now in April, he won't be leading the team in scoring.
well, it's going to be interesting, right? Come the deadline, in February? When's the
March.
trade deadline? March.
Maybe.
So
Let me look.
Late
when-
February, early March.
Yeah, so when it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, because by the sounds of it, he's not taking a hometown discount. Like, you aren't going to get you can't have Matthews go, you know what? I was talking to Brad Marchand, and he said that, I should go to guys like you and take a hometown. I'm not going to take a discount, and neither's Nylander, but we think you should, right? Like, it just isn't going to happen.
No, you're right.
So,
You're 100%
so
right.
they're now in a position where he either wants to get a bigger contract than Nylander and be the top paid right winger again, or you may have to consider letting him go and getting something
Yeah.
else. I
Trade-
don't know.
Trade deadline's March 7th,
March 7th.
3
Okay.
p.m.
But
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you can't let a player walk. We've talked about this many times
Right.
about letting players walk and not getting nothing for them, right?
Exactly.
But you can't write off the playoffs in March,
Right.
right? So
They are not-
It's a lose-lose situation for somebody.
if he is not signed before the deadline, I don't know how they keep him.
Yeah.
Because he could be like a Gaudreau with
Is he a UFA
Calgary.
or an RFA?
But do you get
He's UFA.
He's a
He's
UFA.
UFA.
But do you get the most for him at the deadline, or
They would be smart to try and
would
if,
they have
if
would
they're
they have
going
got
to do
more if
something,
they would have done it this past offseason?
No, I think they would have done it in a moment of weakness because everyone was circling like sharks. Obviously, they got some phone calls and they just went, you know what, we're going to wait and see how this plays out. But I think come the All-Star game in February, they're going to be talking to guys at the All-Star game in their winter meetings, and they'll have to make a decision then. If they don't have him signed by the deadline, I think you got to trade him because otherwise you risk having like Gaudreau walking away for nothing when he signed with Columbus.
But probably the most difficult question to answer in that context is, what are you hoping to get back from him?
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're, let's just for humor's sake, if you're sitting atop the division,
It's hard.
why are you, like, logic would say,
Right.
why are you trading probably someone who's near the top of your points list, if not the top?
Yeah.
Right.
If, let's say, if they're way out of the playoffs by 15 points, then yeah, trade them. Trade half the team. Fire everybody. Hire replacements and fire them too. But I mean,
I don't see
So-
any scenario where
I-
they're in that spot.
Yeah, I don't
mean,
see that.
I
either,
don't
but-
see it either.
So another question that came up today, and they were talking about this morning. So you got Buffalo, Toronto, Detroit, Montreal, Boston, and Ottawa, all at 500, 4-4
Right.
records. Who's the pretender? Who's the legitimate team? And who's looking forward to next year?
Well, Buffalo's obviously the pretender.
But are they?
Oh, well,
Montreal.
They're starting to- Buffalo's
I'm
starting-
not
Montreal's-
convinced.
Yeah,
I think Ottawa. There's, you know how our predictions go on this show.
Well, I don't
We
wanna
do
call
not
it-
back the right team.
I don't
You
wanna-
said Detroit in that list,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I would say
What is Detroit
Well,
besides a
Detroit's
collection
team
of dudes?
yeah, they're a mishmash. Like
Yeah.
there's nobody that brings you out of your seats
Well,
Larkin.
yeah,
like,
but
I
they
don't
got
know. Like,
they got
it's-
Patty Kane, they got Dylan Larkin, they got Sider, they got
Kane,
some
they
really
got a
good
lot
players.
of but Kane's at
But
the
they
end
got
of
the
his career.
same-
He
they
made
got
a
the-
great
Keep in mind,
pass
they missed
last
the
night.
playoffs by an eyelash last
Right.
year.
They got the
Right.
same problem a lot
I
of
like
NHL
what-
teams have.
I like what Stevie Y is doing. Like he's quietly stocking the cupboard. He's got a lot of guys in the pipeline, but they're just still not there yet to compete with the Torontos and the other teams like in a playoff run. I just
It's funny we
don't
mentioned
see it.
Detroit because suddenly you say to yourself, if Toronto was going to trade a Marner,
Yeah.
that's probably a
But would you
know.
trade Marner in your own division? In
If
your own
I'm-
conference?
I'm trading him to whoever I get,
The best package.
Yes.
from.
whoever I have in my mind a package that I want back for Marner, and I'll trade him
So
to Montreal if I'm getting back the players and I
The-
need back
I
to
would-
make this team win in the playoffs.
I
'cause
would
that's
go
all that matters
looking.
anymore.
If I was Toronto, I would go looking for a situation like a Patrick Laine, where you won out of Columbus. You've got a guy who has proven that he has star capability and can put up points, but he's just in a bad situation, whatever team that he's in. Maybe it hasn't developed yet this year, but those are the sort of guys that I would be going after. Like when, LA thought they were getting that sort of a player, the left winger they got from Winnipeg. And
Oh,
then
Dubois.
Dubois. And
that
then
didn't
he
work out so
flamed
well for
out.
everybody,
But then
did
they
it?
were lucky to pass him off to Washington, right? Like
Well-
so Blake was able to, fix a wrong there, but
But he got another wrong though in Kemper.
yeah.
right. But
The problem,
I know he couldn't do much better than that, but
right. But you know what I mean? Like that would be the sort of situation because very rarely are you going to get two teams that would go, you know what? Like we want to trade our best player for your best. Like that doesn't happen very
happen
often.
I don't think
right?
Carolina's going to one day wake up and say, you know what? We really don't want Jacob Slavin anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
the problem in Detroit is like the problem with a lot of other NHL teams goaltending. Cam Talbot,
They have all of them.
Yeah.
yeah. Cam Talbot and Lions are your two goalies, right?
Right.
So
Career
it's not-
backups.
just checking on Pierre-Luc Dubois in Washington. He's got 5 points, 1 goal, 4 assists.
Oh, it's-
There's a team that is sneaky good.
well,
Logan
and
Thompson.
then we talk again about Ovi. What's
Yeah.
he got? Only 1 goal.
Yeah, 2 goals. 2 goals.
Two? Okay. So
But
he's
Logan
off to a
Logan
slow
Thompson
start.
is on fire in Washington. He's 3-0 right now.
Is he? Yeah.
The former backup for the Golden Knights, right?
yeah. Yeah.
You know, you bring some of these guys from the backup position.
And like speaking of the Golden
Anthony
Knights,
Stolarz.
Anthony
like
Stolarz, yeah.
the Golden Knights, they've rebounded. Like I love how McCrimmon just restocks. He doesn't rebuild; he just reloads. Like he's such a great evaluator of talent.
Yeah.
I
When-
think it all
and-
boils down to Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
I think that is
Right.
probably
As
the
Eichel goes,
quietest-
yeah.
I think he's
Well,
the
him-
quietest superstar in the league.
Yes.
Eichel and Stone, like you've got Stone leading the league in points. I think he's got
17.
17.
Yep.
And then you've got Eichel tied at 15 with Makar and a bunch of other guys. Like
Whenever anybody rings off their top 5 players, nobody ever says Eichel.
Yeah.
right.
Well,
And he
And
loves
yet-
that.
And yet, that's exactly
Right.
what he loves. And if,
Yeah.
if you saw that, what's the name of that show that's on Prime, that NHL?
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
face
yeah,
of
yeah.
the
And he was on episode 2 or 3, and you go, oh yeah, Jack Eichel, because when he came out of USA Hockey into Buffalo, he was one of the
Right.
one of the most highly
Yep.
touted prospects to come up in some time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he lit it up for 2 years, and then he had the nasty neck.
The neck
Yep.
injury.
and when his own wanted to go his own way.
It
Yeah.
damn near ended his career, and he got to loggerheads with the Sabres because
Yes. Well, his
he
doctor differed from the Sabres doctor what the remedy should be.
exactly. And so next thing you know, the Buffalo is basically accusing him of whatever
was
they
the
were
f-
accusing
Right.
of.
Yeah.
He was the first hockey player to have that surgery,
And there were
the
other-
non-invasive surgery.
Yeah, there were other sports
That have done it in,
Yeah,
yes.
pardon my lousy memory, but there are other sports where athletes have done that. But I'm not talking about one of the major sports. I'm talking swimming.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Okay.
and that type of thing. So this had been done by high-level athletes,
Right.
just nobody in a contact sport.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
they did say, I know it's not a sport, it's entertainment, but there's some professional wrestlers that had that surgery.
Well, I mean, who takes more of a beating?
Right.
Yeah,
than a
it may not
wrestler.
be a sport, but it's got some contact.
Oh, it does.
moly.
It does. So
Like even though it's staged,
Not only that, they
holy
do that
moly.
4 or 5 days a week.
Yes.
Right.
You
yeah.
know, you
Like
talked
doing-
about football
doing-
playing only once a week. They take
Doing
as much time.
backflips off of the turnbuckle and from
Yeah.
10 feet in the air, like even when they get into the cage matches and are jumping onto tables down, like you're going, oh, are you guys for
let's face
real?
it, those guys are nuts.
Right.
They're absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And they do it day in and day out.
Crazy.
Without weeks off, without an off season.
Crazy.
So if they're using that surgery, anyway, the point being
Yeah.
is that I think that Eichel is the straw. I think
Right.
he is. I really do. He's the one that stirs the drink down there.
Yep.
Other guys get more notice, they get more press, but Eichel just quietly goes about his way, and every year he's a superstar, and that's the kind of hockey player that I would want on my team.
It's going to be interesting because, they cycle through their goalies, and this guy's got problems with money and income tax, and they get rid of him, and they just constantly retool there in Las Vegas. So I think you could see them make another deep run if they stay healthy.
Well, sure they could.
Obviously,
Yeah, I mean they're a little bit like Cleveland in the major leagues in
Yes.
the fact that they develop their talent and they
Within.
know exactly what they want to be
Yep.
successful, making the whole more than the sum of the parts.
Yep.
And only they also get away with some, I don't want to even use the word shifty, that seems a bit strong, but I mean, let's face it.
Well,
they
when Stone
operate
goes on
within
the
guidelines.
IR,
Well, they operate
right?
within the guidelines
Sure.
of the collective bargaining
Yep.
agreement.
it's a loophole that they
It's-
can use.
exactly.
Exactly. And
they're
they're not the
smart.
first. And
They're-
we talked about it last year on the podcast. Chicago was the first one to technically abuse it. And Tampa brought it up at the meetings and said, that's a bunch of BS. I
Well,
think
then
it
they
was,
turned
was
around
it
and did
Taze or
Kucherov.
Kane?
And then they
What-
printed
they-
shirts with a joke about their LTIR usage.
Yeah. And so then Kucherov went on it and then miraculously came back for the playoffs.
Just
Stone
like
did
Stone
it the
does
year they
almost
won it
every
all.
year.
Right? Like
Did it
and-
again last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
All right.
moving on a little bit, there's some teams that are what we thought they were: the New Jersey Devils, the Rangers,
yeah.
the Flyers. I thought they'd be a little better, Brian, but they're a young team.
Yeah, I mean,
That Mitchkov kid looks.
he looks fantastic.
He's fabulous.
He really does
Yeah.
look good. And there's still lots of talent there. Konechny and
Yeah.
and Tippett and a few
Dal-
other guys.
Dallas is what we thought they'd be.
Dallas still looks
But
fantastic.
Yeah, Dallas looks
Minnesota.
good. Minnesota at 5-1. Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Chicago's what we thought they'd be. San Jose is what we thought they'd be. Horrible. But Calgary's still up there at 5.
Well, it doesn't help. when
Yeah,
your number one
Calgary and
overall
the
draft
Kings
pick-
are surprisingly like only a game behind Vegas.
Calgary to me is a huge surprise
Right.
because they dumped last year at the trade deadline.
Yes.
And didn't really add anything of subsequence. And
I wasn't sure if Kadri was gonna, go back there.
I
Like,
don't- I don't know.
like it's just a mess there. But I feel bad for the coach of the Sharks. Like, what do you do there? Like
Well, it doesn't help when your number one overall draft pick gets hurt in the first game,
Yeah,
second game, and he's been out
exactly.
since, and he
Yeah.
scored a goal, even though albeit a kind of a
The thing about it
Great
is that
season,
the NHL is the only major sport out of the 4 sports where they expect 18-year-old kids to, like, let's face it, you're playing against men, like with man strength. When you're an 18-year-old kid, like, could you imagine Cole Lewis going up against like Trouba? Like, it's mind-boggling, that they're expecting, guys like Bedard and all these other guys to come in. Some of them can do it, right? But Bedard got hurt there last year. And all of these 18, 19-year-old kids are playing against men. It's a different game with that man strength, right?
And those
In a
guys
contact
invariably
sport.
get hurt during the season.
Right.
Like almost every single
Absolutely.
one of these 18-year-olds that we bring in. And they can play at this level, and if you
No
can,
doubt about it.
by all
Skill-wise,
means, do it.
no question, right?
I think part of it is the lack of a real developmental league for these kids to play in.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, if you look at basketball, nobody's doing 4 years in college anymore. But
No.
even if they do 1 or 2, they're still 20 when they show up in the league.
That's right.
And it's much less
Still makes a
physical
difference.
than
Right.
it is. Most college players in football are playing 3, even 4 years.
Right.
Some will leave early to enter the draft, but
Right.
most of them are playing 4 years, which gives them
They're
more
early
time
20s.
to get in the gym. And that's huge because I remember when I dropped my kid off at Western first year.
Yep.
He, I thought, was huge at 6'4" and 225 pounds. But by the time he was an OUA All-Star in his third year, he was 6'5", 285
Wow.
pounds.
Wow.
And so that gives you time to develop. You know, the kids, we see it all the time, especially a guy like me who coaches 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. They're big, they're tall,
Yeah.
they're strong, they're athletic. But as they get into their 21, 22-year
Yep.
seasons, that's when they start to fill out a
Right.
little bit. You know, and there's a big difference. I know I coach U22 baseball. There's a big difference between
Right.
the 21-year-olds than from the 18.
Absolutely.
You can just look at their legs, you know, the way they develop over years.
And the problem is that they get caught because they get drafted at 18 and they can't be sent down to the AHL. So they either have to come back to, junior, or you got to stay up in the pros.
Right.
Well,
And
a lot of
back
the
to
time.
junior's a waste of time.
Right.
Because they're just going to score 3 points a game. And
Right.
they don't learn anything. They don't develop. So they are good enough to play at this level. It's just they not, and to their credit, like Bedard got himself in
Yep.
unbelievable shape when he
Yep.
showed up in the NHL.
Yep.
But he's still 165 pounds.
The guy has never eaten fast food in his life. They interviewed
Me neither.
his mom, right?
I wish I could say that.
I can say that maybe on a weekly basis, but not.
I could say that
not
on
long
maybe
term.
every odd day.
I was gonna say I can't say that today.
Either can I. Either
Right.
can I. I had fast food for lunch. All right, we're gonna have to take another.
We'll go for
break.
another break,
But
and then we'll come
before
back.
we do that, let's check the office pool standings.
Oh yes,
We got 4 teams. 4 teams tied for first.
really?
Chatty's chumps, Aaron Chadwick.
Okay.
Did it for Suzuki, Liam Myers.
He had to have somebody pick his team.
Chad
Chatty's
Chad
not
did.
that smart,
I
is
think,
he?
yeah, I think his wife did.
And again, it's early.
Yeah, it's early.
And you'll
The
find
Mighty
out why I say
Penguins.
that.
Yeah, the Mighty Penguins. Jenna Kazlick's up there.
Okay.
And the upset, Tom Watson's up there.
Tom
Razor,
Watson, who's that?
I don't know. Somebody that put
Okay.
in their thing into the pool.
Okay.
The pool is clearly rigged.
It has to be.
I am in 13th.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm
What's your team
2
called?
point. Always next year
Always next
because
year.
I'm a Leafs
Yep,
fan, so
yep.
there's always next year, right?
Love you. Yeah.
1 point behind Clarkie's Army.
Okay.
Jeff's moved up to 18th,
Wow.
so he come up from the bottom there a bit.
Telling you it's rigged.
Yeah. Where's
Larry's losers and
Is that your team?
Larry's losers are last.
Dead last, Halser?
Yeah, like I said.
James
it's
Chappell's Habs fantasy team's last. I understand that because
Okay.
it's got a lot of Habs on it.
Where's
And,
Flip from Mr.
Flip
Sub?
from Mr. Sub, you're 23rd, so you're close to last.
Okay,
so.
yeah, I'm down in the lower
It's
echelon.
only Monday.
Right?
It's only October.
There's a lot of season
Larry's
left,
Losers is a second half team.
right? I got to tell you right now, like if Jenna Kaslik and Aaron Chadwick can do it this early, there's still hope for us guys. Like,
Yeah,
come
you know,
on,
we
right?
still have to figure out what we're gonna do for the winter besides the money. But if it's Aaron Chadwick,
Well, we're talking.
I don't even
about-
think we're gonna
I
give him
know,
the money.
I know we had talked about bringing the
Yeah,
winner on
yeah.
for a cameo appearance. So
a spot on the Chirpers
Right?
for a Monday night.
absolutely, that would be entertaining.
Brian's gonna probably be here anyways, but it's not because his team's gonna win because that's a long mountain to climb, Brian.
I keep telling you, my old pappy used to say, one hot day does not a summer make.
Right?
Okay, it's early. Clearly, this pool is rigged, set up for the naive, and and it's not my fault.
You gotta
It's
love the
not-
box pool's rigged.
I tell you
Right.
what, if I could coach some of these guys, maybe we'd pick it up a little bit. But I mean, some idiot took Marner, and I'm like, oh my god, I got Leafs in my pool,
Right?
right? I mean,
Absolutely.
which means get your points now because
Wow.
they won't do bugger all.
Yeah, I have
All
no
right.
idea what's gonna
You
come
got some
down
more
the
sponsors
pipe,
there
so-
for us, Ray.
Yeah, we've got the Urban Barber. We want to throw out a shout out to him while he's on his way home from Cleveland, 155 Erie Street. Classic, classic cut includes short tapers, grooming, cleanups, shaping detail. This service is not a skin fade. That's what he had on his website. Janet Lang, the real in real estate, official realtor of the Armchair Chirpers. Brighter Vision Counseling, Psychology, and Wellness, providing compassionate and effective counseling services to individuals and families in need. They provide a safe and supportive environment where everyone can heal and grow. Bentley's Bar, Inn, and Restaurant, the official bar and restaurant of the Armchair Chirpers. 20 draft beers on tap, daily food specials, fabulous place to spend the night in their lofts or executive suite. Locally owned and operated by the Bentley family.
All right, we'll be back. We got some Junior B and some, I guess it's not Warshel anymore. It's Olshel. Right, Brad?
Yeah.
Truth. Okay.
All right. While everybody's scrambling to get ready, we'll come back. Razor's putting on his glasses so he can read. All right, let's get into some Junior B hockey.
All righty then.
Well, I'd go to Spencer on this one first. Let's just start with St. Mary's.
Yeah, because we're not going to leave there.
Finally, they got
Finally, some
Finally,
Lincoln's talk on Armchair Chirpers.
They got.
It's about, I have to say, it's about time that we get rid of all this Warriors talk on here. And
Hey, Brett was here last.
Yeah, he was singing the praises.
He's
of
carrying
you
the
guys,
flag.
right?
Yeah, so you like I said, you finally got you got Chatham come in and
Yeah, we're trading everybody.
Yes.
I asked Brian Saturday.
No, we're not. Don't worry.
I talked to Brian Saturday. We had discussed when St. Mary's loses their first game, it's going to be one of those games where everything goes wrong.
Well, I mean, they didn't pass the puck well. Nico Arnold didn't stand on his head like he's been doing all year long, like a 970 save percentage or something.
In his
Completely
first
unsustainable.
953.
In his first 5 games, his lowest single game save percentage was 947.
Wow.
That was the low end for him in the first 5 games. Yeah, it's hard to keep that up.
Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong. That's the first time they've let in 4 goals all year.
It's the first time they've let in 4 goals in a game, and it's the first time they've trailed by 2.
Jeez.
Yeah, because they were down. Well, they got the first goal of the game.
They got the first one.
And then they were down 2-1. Did they make it 2-2 or did they go
tied
down
it?
3-1?
They tied it at 2.
On a really pretty power play goal.
Yes, and I think it was Lee tied it at 2. I believe. I think it was Lee's who tied it at 2, because it was still in the first period. So Lee tied it at 2, and about 10 seconds before Lee scored, he had one disallowed because the net was off the pegs.
Right.
And about 10 seconds later, he scored. So, I mean, you look at it. 4-3 loss for the Lincolns, their first of the year.
Yep.
Lee had a disallowed goal in the first period, and Spagnuolo missed an empty net tap-in on a
Second
power
period
play
on
in
the
the
power
second
play.
period.
Yep. And Barch missed an easy finish, and they hit 2 crossbars, and it was still 4-3.
Right.
So, I mean, that's, as I said to Les, it was one of those games that you run into when you're on an 11-game heater where
Yep.
you played good enough to win most nights, but it just wasn't all there, and that's reality crashing down. I mean, it's hard to win. Well, we talked about Winnipeg earlier.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard to win 8 in a row,
Yeah.
let alone 11, especially coming out of the gate with changes in your roster, and there's a lot of players coming back, but still, new goaltender, 3 or 4 new defensemen, an entirely new fourth line.
Oh, and you're missing Noah Vandenbrink,
Oh, and
who had only 1 game this year where he didn't have a point, and Ryan Hodkinson, who it turns out a 6'3" center who's a point per game can be important to your lineup.
Oh, so he was out
Yeah.
Friday night again.
Yes.
So he hasn't played since he left.
No,
The
I
Friday
hear,
in Stratford,
I hear he's going to
against
be
Stratford.
back for the Caledonia game next Friday. That's the rumor I'm hearing. But to be honest with you, I always loved Hodkinson. I loved watching his improvement last season. He turned himself into a 200-foot indispensable player in the playoffs. But I just never knew how as important he was until he wasn't there.
Right.
And he went out just before the first intermission of the second Stratford game on the Friday night. And I don't think it was a coincidence that suddenly Stratford started dominating that hockey game.
Oh no, you watch that game back. The second and third period, the Lincolns were under siege.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what I'd say on that from a Warriors broadcaster fan perspective is that's the best 30 minutes Stratford's played in the last week.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they've lost 3 of their last 4.
Yeah.
Now, to their credit, 2 of them were to you guys.
Yeah.
And then the one was the stinker at home against Strathroy.
Yeah, Strathroy's they've made some changes.
They're a
and-
top 4 team? No.
Yeah, they've made some changes and they're coming on. They're going to be tough to deal with. But so you're 4 points clear of Stratford now. Like Thursday in Sarnia, Stratford just. I hate to say it. I try not to get on the referees, and some people out there know my.
Saturday nights,
Affinity.
I love listening to you yelling at the referees.
Yeah,
there
some
from the-
people know my affinity for a certain referee in Junior B. These 2 referees
Jim
in Sarnia,
Bradley?
these 2 referees in Sarnia made that referee look like the number 1 official in the league. It was it was a gong show. Like, there was no line. The players want to know where the line is, right? And what they can do and what they can't do. Well, if the referee blurs it the whole time, then the players a lot of soft penalties. Soft penalties. It doesn't make any, the goalie for Sarnia played well, but Stratford's shooting a lot of pucks right at the crest.
Yeah, because they outshot Sarnia 37-20.
Yeah.
Kipfer gets the OT winner.
And that was a beautiful OT winner.
Yeah.
We were trying to give an assist on that winner, but he said it just kicked out to him, and he come in and he roofed it. And, he was in close when he got that up. That kid has got a set of hands.
Right.
Well, there's a reason he's committed to Bowling Green at 15 years old.
He's
16.
You mentioned the shots. Right at the crest,
Yeah.
and that was that was a part of it for us on Friday against Chatham. Is not necessarily shots at the crest, but we were taking a lot of shots from outside, and not doing much with them. Like, there weren't many rebounds. There wasn't much traffic in front. Certainly in the first period, there wasn't. It was a bit better as the game went on.
Chatham is huge, and the one thing that I did notice though that I found really interesting is that when you watch St. Mary's enough times, you notice that whether it's the players or the coaching staff or a combination therein, they hate dumping the puck in. They love to carry the puck over the blue line. They love to if they dump it, they'll dump it 30 feet near the half boards and have somebody, come and chase at it because they skate so well. But they really aren't a dump and chase team. But Chatham made them dump and chase most of the night, which is not their game. And then they got to go and fight these big hulking defensemen that Chatham has.
Right.
And I thought that was very effectual in the game, in the fact that they were forcing St. Mary's to play a game with which they are not preferring.
I thought it was interesting when I was reading the box score for St. Mary's' first loss that they played Gannon Hunter in net and not Sam DiBlasi, who's on the list for Central Scouting for the NHL.
I noticed that too, because he's a big kid. Like, he's a big 6'3"
right?
kid.
And 6'3", but he's skinny. Like, he's only 165 pounds. His hometown's Saginaw, but he's a 9th round pick out of Saginaw. And I'm like going, okay, well, that DiBlasi, stood on his head. And then I'm going, holy moly. No, they had Hunter in net.
In fact, I watched him in warm-up, and he didn't take 5 shots in warm-up.
DiBlasi?
He just sat there, and he didn't sit there with his thumb up his rear end. He's doing drills, and he's stretching and whatever, but he almost never went in the net to take any of the pregame.
I just thought it was really interesting where you've got arguably the best goalie in the league isn't playing against the top team in the league. I don't know.
He just showed up. I don't think he had played.
No, he hasn't. He hadn't played a game yet.
He just got.
Okay. All
and
right.
I mean, I can
sense.
get it to a point there because St. Mary's is a tougher place to play in as the road team. It's it's not a quiet place.
No,
usually.
it's that was actually my opening game when I got traded from Stratford to St. Thomas. Sure enough, we were in St. Mary's on a Friday night, and I remember, my dad standing there, and it was hilarious because when I talked to him after the game, we ended up losing, and that was like back in the 80s with Jeff Shipley and all of they had some good team, Greg Murray, and my dad's like, holy moly, these guys were like all over you, and I go, yeah, I heard them, especially on the players' side because there's only like 2 or 3 rows of stands. They are right on you. It's similar to when I played in Listowel because that's even smaller, right? That's like Dufferin Arena, right? The old Listowel, and but it's entertaining. Like it's what you want as a fan is to find that excitement, and we beat a dead horse to death there last week. Spencer talking about the playoff atmosphere, the 50-50 being almost $2,000. Like it was, we've told everyone, circle your calendars.
December
Friday,
13th.
December 13th, right? Like that is going to be a really good crowd. I'm not saying it's going to be sold out, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have upwards of $2,000.
I would say it'll be very well attended.
Yeah.
It is.
Exactly.
It is the It'll be the alumni night as well, I think.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed on Friday night as well the difference in the atmosphere in the building, and I thought that because that was the first game that St. Mary's had played in a week since they played Stratford.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't a bad crowd. I maybe 800, 800.
I think 700. Yeah.
But I mean, 1,300 and packed and loud and
Yep.
energetic
Yep.
and playoff atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then Chatham came in, and it was just kind of, oh yeah, it's October.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where anybody who watches go enough. You know, it's like it's a game in October, dude. And
Right.
that was a lot of people in a barn for an October junior B hockey game.
Exactly.
Like 700-800.
Well,
But
I mean,
the
you know,
atmosphere was- I don't know, because I'm on the other side, beside like that's exactly where you were talking
Right.
about, right beside the bench,
Yep.
and you're up on the other side. So I don't know whether, like, I don't know. Well, you tell me. How was it different?
Oh,
for you
it,
on that
it was
side?
it was definitely different from the week before. There's 500-600 less people in the building, and when I really felt that was first preseason game for us for St. Mary's. It's a preseason game. How many people? I wasn't expecting 1,000 people to show up for a preseason game, but the last time I'd been in that arena for a St. Mary's game was
Game
the
7.
Sutherland Cup final
Right.
against Listowel, whether it was like game 3
4.
or 4 or whatever.
Okay.
And I mean that place,
Just
they
rocking.
had to actually like decide how many people could fit in the building
Legally.
for
Right,
legal
right.
fire escape
Right.
reasons.
St. Mary's got in trouble
Right.
after, and I can't remember which game it was. It might have been the Fort Erie game in the round robin. They got in big trouble because they're not.
Come
they
on
just kept
in.
letting people in.
Come
They
on
let
in.
everybody in.
Yeah, they didn't
They
have
weren't
anyone
keeping account-
clicking it.
Exactly.
It-
And
it was-
Then the fire marshal came in and went.
it was packed, and to go from that to
Right.
the preseason, it was like, oh my god, did something happen?
Right.
Like, did I miss something? And no, it was just when you have that, it takes a while to decompress. And funny enough, the same thing is happening when it comes to us talking about this one loss.
Yeah.
We talk about this, we're hyper analyzing this 4-3 loss to Chatham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't 4-0.
This is a franchise record for a team that's been around forever.
Yeah,
We set a franchise record for winning streak to start a season.
yeah.
We set a franchise record for consecutive time not allowing a goal because we had 223 minutes and 38 seconds
Wow,
straight without giving up a goal.
crazy.
Like
Almost 4 games.
it
right.
took us 12 games to go down by 2.
Like we said on, I don't know if you heard our podcast last week, but we all agreed and said like St. Mary's is setting the bar high. Like,
There.
and the experience that you guys got from going to the finals last year has only helped you guys. And like, you look down the list, Lee, McQueen, Spence, Fortman, Spagnolo, McClellan, Hodkinson, like there's only 4 or 5 points separating your top 6 score. Like your scoring is so well balanced, and like it, obviously we love Stratford and we talk about Stratford, but you look at Stratford and other than Cole Lewis leading it with 18 points, the next 4 top scorers are all rookies.
Yeah.
Which
But that's
is
the
a
biggest
huge,
the biggest difference.
That's a
is
huge testimonial
14 veterans and
to
14
Clarkey
rookies, right?
and Nick
Yes.
Parr and all of the scouting staff for being able to bring in these guys and immediately jump in. But you guys are like setting the bar for the rest of the league. Like I think it's Air, if I'm not mistaken, that's leading it over in the East. But like it's exciting, and it's only October.
Going
and
into
we're already
Just
thinking,
at the quarter pole now.
right?
Going into last weekend, we had 7 forwards who were at a point per game for St. Mary's, and we had 2 who were around .91 or .93. Like that's 9 forwards
That's
right at or just
awesome.
just below point per game.
Yeah.
That's 3 lines who are
Right.
averaging a point per game.
Right. Who do you focus on?
Yeah.
Like,
right? Oh,
and I mean,
let's focus on Lee. Oh, okay. Well, Spagnola is gonna.
well,
you
Lee and
know,
Spagnolo don't go anywhere without each other, so
Right.
you're gonna see them. But like Jacob McClellan, when he came in, he was viewed as, okay, this is a defensively responsible winger who. Shut that guy up. That's me. That's me. If you couldn't hear.
McClellan
I
is a
guess-
20-year-old too.
We're gonna
He's a
talk about
20-year-old,
that.
and he came in, and everyone was like, okay, defensively responsible forward. We're not sure how much offense he's going to bring to this team,
Right.
and now he's a point-per-game player.
And you saw Stratford this week bring in a 20-year-old.
And and not a bad one.
Not a bad 20-year-old to
Yes.
get. Hunter Nagy came back to
Yeah.
Stratford, and I talked to him before the Sarnia game when we were getting on the bus, and I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "I'm so happy to be back."
Right.
And then he gets a point in his first shift, really, of first period. Another goal by Cole Lewis there in Sarnia. So Friday night I interviewed him, and he was giddy with excitement.
Yeah.
He says, "Family, friends here. I'm playing with kids I grew up playing with."
So is he playing with Lewis and Schooley?
He's
then?
playing with Lewis and Schooley.
Nice.
Oh, that's a loaded line.
Right. Yeah.
That's a loaded.
And
It's so
we
it's
don't
so-
we don't need to talk about Stratford's Friday night game because they looked good in warm up.
It's so awesome that we have St. Mary's and Stratford again. Like
Absolutely.
like, isn't this
100.
Isn't this just
100.
great?
Yeah. And what's even better, it would be one thing for them to be back in the league, but it's another thing where they're both fighting for, 1-2 in their division. Like that gives the
yeah,
extra
if one's in
juice.
5th and the other's in 12th, it's one
Then
thing.
it's like, whatever.
But when they're 1-2,
Right.
and everybody's just salivating
Right.
like me, I think I said
Yeah.
it probably 4 times on air, how much I want to see a 7-game series between those
Right.
teams.
And we
But
talked
before-
about that in the second intermission when I had Spencer and Razor on the broadcast. I had Alex Murray on the first intermission there Friday night in Stratford. And he's one of the premier play-by-play announcers in the league. So I said to him, and then you got Spencer Seymour in St. Mary's who makes some good calls. So I want to play one for you, and then I want you to tell us
Oh no.
what you were thinking at the time.
Havers once again. Havers across. Quick shot. Oh, what a save by Booth Houseco. Are you kidding me? Colby Booth Houseco just committed highway robbery with one of the greatest glove saves I've ever seen.
That's where he dove across to his left.
Yes.
You want to tell us how you really feel, Spencer?
So is that the 519 highlight pack?
Yeah.
Okay, pull that back up, and I will tell you why, because I want you to play the rest of it. Because that includes the second save that he made in that game. And if there's a reason I want to play this.
I only have that one.
Oh, you only have that one? Okay. The reason I wanted him to play the second one, I had the biggest voice crack
Oh, no.
I have had in 5 years when he made that save. My voice became a voice that I didn't recognize.
Oh,
So
wow.
you use it. Are you kidding me? And when I was talking to Alex Murray, he made a call last year in the playoffs where Grimes committed probably the biggest highway robbery I've ever seen in my life. And he had the same thing. Are you kidding me?
Can I tell you?
Highway robbery.
You know what I was thinking in that save? I was thinking, what the hell do I say?
Yeah. And
Because it's on part of it is it's on 519.
Yep.
And I don't want to look back on all the highlights from the year and have it be "Are you kidding me?" every single time.
Yeah.
But
No.
when you make a
But that was
save
an
like he
exceptional
did,
save.
Yes.
The guy had an open net and he dives across and snares it out of midair. That was
large.
unreal.
You
Truly
see
Larson.
McGinney Photography, who's a photographer who comes to a lot of the Lincoln's games. He got perfect photos of both of the saves, and you see in the background. I can't remember who got the shot for Pelham on that save on the one he dove across, but you see him and he's just hands on head
like
the
player,
shock.
like the fan behind the glass.
No, the player on the ice who
player.
took the shot.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
He shot
okay.
it, and Colby made the save, and just hands on his
Wow.
helmet, just could not believe what he had seen. It was unbelievable.
I've only been doing this for a short time, and I'm having a great time. And my two biggest goals are Cole Lewis in the playoffs last year in overtime. When he scored
that
that
was a
goal
good call.
coming
Great
off the
call.
boards.
Yeah.
It's like
And
your
then-
second game ever.
Yeah, my
Which is
second.
awesome.
Yeah.
He gets an
Yeah,
overtime home.
I get an overtime,
a home goal.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
And I almost fell out of the press box when that happened. It's a long way up. And then I think my next best call is Thursday night in Sarnia when Kiffer comes in all alone.
Right.
Because he was in and there's just it's like it goes into slow motion.
Yeah.
And you have time. What am I going to say? If he puts this in, what am I going to say? And I found it just came to me. It just, he roofed it. I'm going, oh, what a beautiful goal by Quinn,
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
And it's just some of the. I wish we taped our road games, because some of the best calls come on the road. We don't tape the road games. We only have the flow, and flows flow what it is. Flows
Yeah.
flow. Hopefully it's going to get better soon. But it's so nice to hear some of these calls coming from Junior B announcers, and I'm going to say probably one of the best in the league is Dylan Baker out of Kamoka,
I'm so glad you mentioned him.
because I think that kid, he has a career, and he's going to go places.
Okay, I'm going.
I can't really call him a kid. He's 18 years old.
Oh
but
no,
still.
you can call him a
that's
kid.
a kid.
No, you can call him a kid because he started calling games for the Kings at 13.
Wow.
And
Wow.
do you want to know? I didn't know he was 13. I
didn't know he was 18.
If you just listen to him, you'd think that's a 40-year-old man with his voice. You'd never be able to tell that he was a kid at that time. How I found out he was that young was when the London Majors, who he also calls for, because of course he calls baseball too. Yeah. He's not perfect enough.
Right. Joe Buck.
Yeah, the kid, he can do anything, and he can do it well.
Yeah.
And I found out he was that young because him and Noah Smith, who is also a good commentator in the GOJHL, calls the Strathroy Rockets games, him and Dylan were on Mike Stubbs' show. And Stubbs brought it up how young he was. And my jaw hit the floor when I was listening to it. I could not
That's
believe he was
crazy.
that young.
To start at
and
13.
by the way, he's bilingual.
Yes. So he did the.
So he can do the Canadians games in French or English.
He did the Memorial Cup French feed
Wow.
He did the
past
PA
year.
announcer. He did the PA announcing in the arena in French
in Saginaw.
Yeah.
This
Crazy.
and he's a great kid. Period.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and he's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I hate him.
God, I hate him. Probably got a full head of hair too, right?
He does. He's got the flowing blonde locks. He's a really good kid.
And he's in
doing
shape.
good.
He's not fat like me. Like, oh
Right?
God, it just gets worse and worse.
Jeez.
But you're really doing a good job in St.
Thank you.
Mary's.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's the most fun job in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the Junior B League. We're only at the quarter pole, like Brian said. There's still a lot of hockey to be played. But we were talking, it's going to be so bunched up. You got 9 teams in the East that all have a shot to make the playoff. And you got 3 teams.
Anyways.
Yeah, well, yeah.
About 9 teams above 500
Yes.
in the West.
Yeah.
So somebody above 500
In the West, yeah.
might not make the playoffs.
Right.
And then you got the 3 teams at that are at the lower end. They're probably going to be there at the end of the year that way too. So you're going to have 9 teams fight for 8 spots. And where they finish from in that first round of the playoffs, it's going to be wild.
Well, there's something else too that was brought up to me yesterday in Waterloo. You start to wonder now, these teams, the St. Thomases and the Sarnias and the Kamokas, the Caledons, are they going to start dumping 20-year-olds at the deadline for playoff teams loading up for playoffs? Is that going to start to be a thing now?
The
Because
problem is,
up until this year, everybody made the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
You got your PDFs that they're getting players for. So I'm starting to wonder. I think it's a great point. Like, is the kid like the Russian kid Belayev in St. Thomas?
Baliev,
He's with a St. Thomas team that's going nowhere. Is that a kind of a guy that a St. Mary's could pick up and put on their second line?
The thing in Junior B hockey is you have to have the roster spot to do it, right? So it's going to have to be player out, player in.
Well,
for some teams.
Stratford's carrying 25.
Yeah,
St. Mary's is only carrying 22.
Yeah.
So they could pick up a guy without having to drop anything.
The counterpoint is, I mean, if you pick up, like, let's say you pick up one of the higher end guys from one of those lower teams, like, it's one thing to get them, it's another thing to pick who comes out of the lineup for them.
Yes, who fits in.
But it's not like the practice is new. I mean, you look at St. Mary's last year, they ended up getting Abbott halfway through the year. They got Collins halfway through the year. And, those are guys that they picked up mostly from Junior A, or I guess Abbott wasn't even playing, I don't think.
He was out east. Abbott was more of a necessity because we were having trouble stopping the puck.
with a certain goalie that is
Who's
now in
stopping the
Stratford.
puck more in Stratford?
Right.
Now in Stratford.
Yeah.
But I was there when he played his one and only game at St. Mary's, and he did not look good. And I'll give him full credit for how good he looks this year with Stratford, but he did not look good. In
No,
that
he's
one
playing
game.
well.
And that was the sentiment in the rink. Like, I don't know if this is the guy for them, considering the run. But I'm just saying that teams are already picking up players. Nagy shows up halfway through the year. They found a spot for him. The Bender kid they picked up 2 weeks ago. Now, are they going to start pilfering players from non-playoff teams now that you've actually got 5 or 6 teams that are not going to make the playoffs?
So you mentioned that Stratford had, 1 or 2 guys at the top of their points, and then there was a drop.
Yeah.
St. Mary's has, like I said, 9 guys at a point per game. Like if
Yeah, they're
let's
very
let's
even
say you
spread.
let's say you bring in this year's Maddox Collins. Oh my God, does that mean who gets pushed down to fit that player in? Like, I'm sure the Lincolns are going to make a move at some point.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I'm very
room-
intrigued to see what it is.
I feel like there's room for a second line center iceman because as much as I like Hodkinson, he reminds me I've told everybody who will listen, he reminds me of Eric Stahl when Pittsburgh was winning the Stanley Cups. He was playing behind Crosby and behind Malkin, and he was the best third line center iceman in hockey. And I think Hodkinson could fill that role and make him matchup proof. You will not be able to match up with St. Mary's if they pick up a second line center iceman.
Right.
I don't necessarily disagree, but when you've got 3 centers and 3 lines working the way they are, like on any given night, I mean, Ryan Cornfield could be your second line center some nights, considering the fact he's playing with a Noah Vandenbrink and a Jacob McClellan. Like the way those lines have worked for the most part. I mean, if he isn't a second line center, he's doing a good impression so far.
He's not going to get a lot of points. And like I said, if you can pick up that Collins type of kid and when you're really, because let's face it, it's my belief, and I don't think it'd be hard to put some proof behind that St. Mary's wants 3 more wins than they hit last year. I
Right.
think they're
I-
looking,
I-
I think they're looking at Sutherland
Right.
or bust.
Right.
And they certainly are looking at the rest of the league, and we'll certainly see Friday night against Caledonia how they match up with them. It'd be interesting when they play Ayr. That'll be
Yep.
a really interesting game when Ayr comes to town.
How many
So-
guys do they have that are in their last year of junior? Do they have many guys that
Well,
are?
They
the
have-
problem is at the top. Luca, Spagnolo, and Lee are done. They're 20-year-olds.
Okay.
McClellan's a 20-year-old. Livermore's a 20-year-old.
And Coops.
And Coop's a 20.
Okay,
So-
so it is now or never.
Yeah.
It
Is-
is
For those
their
zones.
best. Like they're Lee and Spagnolo. If they aren't their best players, they might be the best penalty killers in the league.
Right. Yeah, like they're
Lee and Spagnola are in the conversation for best, and that's the other thing about the Lincolns. As much as we talk about the points, I don't think at least in that top 9, I would say the whole forward group. I don't think there's a forward who you can't trust in the defensive zone in that bunch,
that's huge.
and that includes the rookies: Ducharme, Searles, Ketchigo, McDougall.
Yeah.
My question is, in Junior B, usually trades are after Christmas, but do you see some teams maybe jumping the gun this year?
Well,
Just-
this is my point. Is that now
Yeah.
that there are teams that are racing for that playoff revenue, a border team like Chatham, like Elmira, like I said, the Siskins have Evan Klein, who might be the best player in the go, but they don't look like a playoff team. We watched them yesterday.
If it
and they
wasn't for Nolan Chartrand in goal for the Siskins on Sunday, that
4-2 definitely flattered the Siskins. The
Wow.
score. They were like
It-
the shots at one point were almost 3-1.
So then all of a sudden you could have the GM of the Lincolns or Stratford or whoever who's in contention go to Waterloo and say, hey, what does it take to get this
I don't
kid?
think Nick Parr's done in Stratford. I don't think
Absolutely
any
not.
GM
I doubt
The
it.
best
No.
thing
Any
that
GM's
the
done
best
Stratford.
thing that
Pat
happened
Powers hasn't made a trade yet.
Well, he
that's
hasn't-
going to
but
change.
he hasn't had to make a
But
trade
the best
yet,
thing
right?
though for Stratford was to play those back-to-back games to just see where
That's
they
a
were.
measuring stick,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yep.
And so then Nick Parr and the rest of the staff just went, I think we can maybe improve here or here. And so they're guaranteed they're on the
because
lookout.
it was
Now,
kind of for me it was just funny. You lose those 2 games, St. Mary's, and then all of a sudden Nagy shows up Monday night.
absolutely.
You know,
right?
that sort
And
of
so-
filled a need right there with veteran.
But it's
scoring
like, and
presence.
it's going to play a lot on injuries and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's where I really like what Chatham did, where they align themselves with Saginaw. They're exclusive with Saginaw, so they get all of the guys that aren't, ready yet for the Saginaw major junior team. They send them over. They send the goalie De Blasi to Chatham, like.
That's another kid too.
Sarnia sent their 3rd goalie to Strathroy.
Right. And so that's why, and I know we've discussed it before, but that's why me personally, I think it's great to individually align yourself with one OHL team and then do the same with junior D, because if the junior D team gets put out, like say Stratford did it with Mitchell gets knocked out early in the playoffs. You can bring their 20-year-olds up to Stratford while they're still playing in the playoffs.
You really don't see that. You more see.
You can't,
Why wouldn't
you
you?
can't AP 20-year-olds.
Yeah, you can't AP 20-year-olds. So you more see the younger, like Stratford's done it the last couple of years, where you get that 16-year-old that comes up and everybody goes, "Who's that?"
Yeah, like
Yes.
Carson Harmer.
Right.
Harmer.
Right.
First year he come up in
Exactly.
that Cherry Cup run, and everybody's like, "Who's that number 10 out there?" And we're going, "It's Carson Harmer."
Right.
Yeah,
You're
going to see him
Yeah.
on TV
because
really
because
Saginaw
you can't
saw
AP
him.
a 20-year-old.
Right.
So it has
Right.
to be a
So
kid.
then even a 19-year-old.
But
I'm
even
just
already,
saying.
though, St. Mary's has basically had a pipeline through Barrie.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Barrie player or
Right.
a kid from Barrie.
I
or
mean,
and
the
that
St.
has
Mary's
not hurt them.
And even though there's the GM of the St. Mary's Lincolns is a scout for the Kingston Frontenacs.
Right.
They have their number.
Well,
So they have
Did I
an
say Barrie?
in.
Sorry, Kingston.
yeah.
Right.
but they've had Barry, like
They got Collins
Cornfield.
from Barrie.
Yep.
There's a reason.
Cornfield's a Barry pick.
And who
Armelin's a
knows,
Barry
maybe
pick.
Ethan Weir drops back at some point. I don't know. There's just
Right.
There's a reason why the 3rd goalie for Erie is in Stratford, and the ties that Stratford has. With
And
the
that's
Erie
what you
coaching
need.
staff.
It's all about relationships.
It is.
Right? Like whatever your connection is, they've got a couple of Americans this year. It's all about building relationships, and like Clarkey and Nick Parr and those guys have done a great job. Obviously, you guys have too. It's all about relationships. How can we bring more guys in? And,
How can you make your team better?
Absolutely.
That's why this December 3rd. I hate looking ahead, but this December 13 game could be.
That's huge.
It's huge for both.
It really
teams,
is.
because you don't know where both teams are going to
Well,
be
and
at
the
that
addition
point.
of Nagy makes the matchup really delicious. The Spagnolo line against the Lewis line.
Yeah.
Because putting another 20-year-old out there, who will basically be playing against Vortman,
Yeah.
who is a very underrated hockey player.
Yes. Can we talk about that? Spagnolo and Lee get all the hype. Owen Vortman is a
He's dangerous.
monster.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Oh, he's a big boy.
And
And
he's what, Oshawa's pick?
he was a London 11th rounder
Okay.
a couple years ago. But like he is
Another 200-foot player. He
Right.
can kill penalties.
Yeah.
He's responsible in his own end.
You know-
Do you think Spagnola's looking forward to this December 13th just to see if he can get back at Lewis for all those face-offs he lost?
I think
Because honest,
I'm
you
gonna
have to be honest.
I am going to show Luca
Lewis schooled him.
I am going to show Luca what you just said.
Well, I'm just
and he is going to score 5 points
But
against Stratford
sure,
next time.
sure.
I
we're
love
giving
it.
you some
I love
whiteboard
it.
material.
Of course.
But anybody watching that game
I think
saw that as a problem.
I think Luca looks at it and goes, if I don't win the face-off, I'm going to be an absolute pit bull and get the puck
Yes.
back either way.
Right.
'Cause-
I thought he was great.
And I love that match. I love that matchup. Line
was
one
the-
against
Oh.
line one.
That was the first game that I had seen with St. Mary's, and I just thought like that. All those guys. Lee stood out. Vortman, Spagnolo, like all those guys. Just I'm like looking at them, going, okay, you guys are very well balanced. Like 3 lines. You talked about it before, where you've got all guys over a point a game. Like your top 6 scorers are all over a point a game. Like that's
And
tough
Coops
to
on the
defend
back
against.
end is what scares me with St. Mary's because that kid is huge.
And
Oh yeah,
And he's got. I hear
he's
got
never met a hit he didn't
Yeah,
like.
I was gonna say I don't think he's
And
ever been soft on a hit like Brian would call some players.
By the way,
We've
in fairness to Cole Lewis, it's no shame losing a face-off to Cole Lewis.
No, it is not. It is not.
He's
Cole
awesome.
Lewis has
Big
really worked
gold
hard.
Cole.
He's really worked hard on that face-off.
Yeah, he is.
I think Eric Anderson has had a big turn in that for Cole because
For sure.
Eric still gives back, goes out with the team, and works on the face-offs with these
Yeah,
kids. So
one of the all-time Stratford greats.
yeah, and he'll be up there.
Eric Anderson's the only guy. Yeah, we'll have to go to.
Yeah.
We gotta
get the
speed
Irish
this up
in.
and get
We
the
gotta-
Irish in. But
yeah.
Eric, one last thing about Eric Anderson, watching him playing City League, he's the only guy that I've ever seen come down. So Eric normally shoots left. He'll come down the right-hand side on his backhand, being left-hand shot, and flip it over to right and not miss a beat. Like he can shoot it almost as hard right-handed as he can his regular way left. Like it's unbelievable to see.
Yeah, it's great having this junior B talk.
Yeah.
I just wish we had more time for it.
Exactly. Yeah,
we got to cut it short and get to the Irish.
We got to get into the Irish before we go. But
I don't even know if we have to talk about the Irish game Friday night because I don't think they showed up.
It was
It was 7-0 pretty quick, was it not?
Well, they were down
It was
5-0 in
5
the
after
first,
one, and then it was
7-0 in the second, and Pye left Zach Weir until the 7th goal, and then Smith came in to mop it. Like it was basically a foregone conclusion by that.
Having said that, Weir came back Saturday night
Redeemed
in the
himself.
rematch with Orangeville.
Yep.
They win 3-1, and it's not like they dominated the hockey game. Weir was outstanding.
Yep.
The defense were better. Do you know who really stood out for me in Saturday night's game was Didi Amidi, and he hasn't
Yep.
seen a lot of him, and he's not making a lot of the road games. But he didn't get a goal, he didn't get an assist, but what he did was exactly
Going over
the
to
kind-
Orangeville's bench. Like he's a
made-
policeman out
He
there.
made it. Like I said, I have interviewed him.
Yeah.
And he is built like a truck.
Oh, yeah.
dude.
Well, you and I were talking, Les, like when he was going over to Orangeville's bench there in the third period, and it wasn't, he wasn't doing a John Wensink with the T-stop calling on any and all comers, but he was basically saying to them, like,
Enough's enough.
yeah,
That's enough.
like it's,
You guys are running a couple of our guys, and that's enough. The next guy that does that, we're going to have a problem. And he, there was one play late in the third period where Orangeville had pressure on and a 3-1 hockey game with, 3 or 4 minutes left. And Didi Omidi literally grabbed the guy, fired him up against the boards, took the puck, fired it off the glass.
yeah,
Out far enough so it wasn't icing, comes off. And Pye, to his credit, Pye ran him back out.
Yeah.
Like they were running 2 lines for the last. And he was impactful in the last 5 minutes of a 3-1 hockey game.
It was-
Just tried to kill it off. And it was
That
really
game at times when they were going end to end to end, that was some wild hockey.
As much as I am loving the Junior B hockey season, when the Ontario Super Hockey League gets going, the hockey.
well, you've got
is
men
just
that have played
unbelievable.
semi-pro hockey.
Pro hockey.
Well, yeah,
Like there's
like,
NHLers in that.
We
Well,
we
the
got to
goalie
get
from
Spencer. We got to get
Alvinston.
Spencer to a game.
yeah, the goalie from Alvinston played for the Red Wings. He
Yeah.
played a game for the Detroit.
And of course, the big move today
Wow.
by the Strathroy Jets.
Robbie
Robbie
Schrem.
Schrem.
Robbie Schremp is playing in the league. It's
crazy.
So I don't understand this point system they have because I noticed some players get drop points and it just the player points you can only have so many.
Well, you can't show
Threes
up
or
with
whatever.
a roster of NHLers, right? Everybody's worth a certain amount of points based on how high of a league that you have played in. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know it like I work for the league, but you're allowed a certain amount of points on any game day roster. So an
you're allowed-
NHL player is maybe an 8-point player, and an AHL player might be a 6-point player.
Yeah, I think they label them 1, 2, 3. So
Whatever
yeah.
the
Yep.
numbers are, you're only allowed an X number of
Right.
points. So you can't, like I said, you can't show up with a roster of NHL hockey
Right,
players.
Retired NHLers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's just too many points on the roster.
Well, and it's bad for the league too, right?
Well,
Like,
Orangeville is an interesting case, and ironically that they were just in because they were garbage for the first 3 quarters of last year. But they talk about taking advantage of loopholes.
Yeah.
They signed 14 guys
oh wow,
with 6 games left in the season. and utterly changed their roster.
Right.
Into, I don't know how much money they spent bringing all these guys
Right.
in, and all of a sudden, they're scoring 9 goals a game, and it just turned
Crazy.
out that they didn't have enough to make the playoffs.
Right.
They totally owned the last week or two of the season, but they didn't have enough points to make the playoffs, so they
Right.
weren't impactful.
Yeah.
They've still got a lot of those guys, and they showed up. And that's the other thing about the Ontario Super Hockey League, senior hockey, as we don't like to call it, but it's still the same concept in that teams don't travel well. In the Junior B loop, there's 22 guys on a roster, and they show up to every game. They
Right.
show up to every practice because that's their top priority.
Right.
A guy like Didi Omidi is 34 years old. He's got
Married, 2
a job,
kids. Yeah.
and he's got a career. I remember last year the big guy Denemy in Tilbury,
Yep.
who led the league in scoring second year of existence, missed Game 7 of his playoff series because he's caught. And
Right.
he had to go work on a
Right.
Saturday night, and he missed the game.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the Super Hockey League. That's why so many guys are landing now.
Yeah.
It seems like every day there's more guys being signed to rosters. I mean, Alvinston loading up.
Oh, my God.
Crazy.
So
They
we got-
already have the best
well,
player in the league, and Brandon Fessy.
Yeah.
And, so they'll be missing 3 guys, and they can still load up their points to max.
So we got a bit of a
Yeah.
break before the next Irish game, November 23rd.
Well, they're playing, if you're not
At
doing
home,
anything
at
better
home.
Saturday night,
Yeah.
they are in
So
Alvinston
November
Saturday
2nd, we
night.
got to make the road trip. Like this Saturday night.
I'll be in Cambridge.
Okay, you're in Cambridge. I
They're
think.
in Alvinston.
Are
I'm
you-
telling you,
are you
I was
going,
there
Halser?
last year in the playoffs, and there was very near to a brawl going on off the ice, let alone on the ice, because there was a controversial.
Well, we got to
goal.
go to that. We
that
got to
was
see
scored.
with our own 2 eyes where, like, talk about the bar, like
That
with
bar-
St. Mary's
that barn
being the
is
bar.
nuts, dude. That barn is nuts.
But like Alvinston is the bar of the Ontario Super League. Like
Well,
they
haven't-
are.
They don't have a championship.
No, they don't. But
They put Stratford out last year, but they lost to Tilsonburg.
but like you look at this
and
Caden
Tilsonburg just
Fulcher.
gave them their first loss on Saturday night.
I saw that. Yeah, Tilsonburg, who knocked them off in 7 games last year, just gave them their
Sometimes,
first
you know,
loss.
well, you know how high school level
Yes.
sports work, right? Sometimes you match up well
Yep.
with a team and you have their number. I mean, Stratford has done that. Stratford has beaten Tilsonburg 7 straight times,
Crazy.
including a sweep.
Yeah,
in the
Pi was saying
2023
that, yeah.
finals. So that was his big thing, that if they could have gotten past
Right.
Alvinston,
They matched up very
they just
well.
Owned, it's just one of those things where
Right.
you own a team, and they were going to run into Tilsonburg. Tilsonburg was probably happier than
Oh.
than a what? A dog eating thistles.
Jackass eating thistles.
Jackass eating thistles. There it is again.
I'm not going to lie, folks. I don't get the reference. But anyways,
He's not alone.
I know. Anyways, so they are unbelievably talented, and they are deep, and their goaltending is good with the coning.
Yeah.
And all the other things, but they ain't won squat. So until they
They
win
haven't
something,
won-
they ain't setting
Correct.
the bar in my eyes.
We're
Correct.
gonna have to wrap this up pretty quick.
Yeah.
we're getting
Yeah.
long in the tooth here.
Well, you know what? It's always a pleasure to
Yeah.
bring on good people like yourself, Spencer. We appreciate you coming on and passing on your words of wisdom, because everyone's got
Using that term loosely.
December 13th circled on their calendar at the Alman Arena, and so we're just really looking forward to having you down there. Seeing where Stratford matches up against St. Mary's, and it's only good for the whole league, right?
If there's not a Stratford game on and St. Mary's is playing, tune into St. Mary's radio and listen to Spencer.
Yeah,
It can be entertaining
yeah.
at
Well,
times.
at my best.
Bob Cole had to start somewhere,
Yeah,
folks.
yeah.
So
He does a good job,
Like
and-
it's just awesome, and we're grateful that you took a few moments of your night to come on to the Armchair Chirpers, and
I'm sure I'll be back.
Oh yeah.
absolutely. Well, definitely.
Well, if we
for our
get to a
pre-playoff,
7-game playoff,
right? Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
have me back, and we'll do 2 hours of only GOJHL.
it's
yeah.
possible. Playoff
Yeah.
preview.
Yep.
Playoff preview.
Absolutely.
Brian, always good to have you here.
Always,
Yeah,
always a
thanks.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Just
Shout
gonna
out to my boy Jeff. Hopefully you're driving safe coming home.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
next week, folks, November 4th,
Yes.
Big day.
Small Town Strip
Strip
Club
Club.
will be in the world headquarters.
Yeah.
I don't know
Looking forward to
which
that.
2 or which 4. I don't know exactly who's coming, but it doesn't matter.
Well,
And
what's
for
great
any
too,
of us out there who just saw them play,
Yeah.
opening up for
Right.
Big Rec,
right?
they killed it.
And
man.
if
they
it's-
absolutely killed it.
If Brady Lewis is coming, wear your Leaf jersey.
Well, we've been getting a lot of texts, people saying like that is awesome, that they're coming on the show.
They're,
and,
they're
like,
all
these
they're all
guys
hockey.
are-
They're all
they
sports
are.
fans. They're all sports
fans.
Because we
and-
talked about it. We said, oh yeah, we're gonna get them on. We'll talk about their music. And I'm sitting there going, I'm kind of iffy on this. It's not a music podcast. And I'm sitting there going, well, they got Brady Lewis, and he's a big Leaf fan.
Yes, he bleeds blue.
He's a
and
Yeah.
huge
white.
Leaf fan.
Noah Bolger.
Yeah, Noah Balder. He's
Yeah.
another hockey. He was
Young.
young hockey, a good sports
Yeah.
player in his day, I think.
Yeah.
His
If I
brother
remember.
plays for me.
Yes.
Yeah, Noah grew up down the street from me over on White Street when I was living on Mornington. So my 2 daughters played with Noah's sister, Anna. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so,
it's
it'll be
just
great.
good.
Yeah.
Well, and we're playing their songs on our podcast.
Yeah, if anybody wants to listen to that half-hour live stream, because I wanted to make sure it was on, Small Town Strip Club
Yeah.
lead-in song. So that's nice.
Looking forward to it, folks.
Yeah.
And we'll catch everybody.
I can't guarantee is there going to be any singing. At least I know there won't be any by me. Hopefully not Razor, but you never know. Jeff might break out a tune and see if we can get hired by them or
Little
something.
Mitsu.
Little Mitsu.
Mitsu. He'll never live that down. And he was
Oh,
shocked.
I know.
He was shocked when we were writing him
Little
about
Mitsu.
it.
Alrighty,
Love
folks.
him. Yeah, safe driving,
yeah.
Jeff.
And just
Look
remember,
forward to seeing you.
remember, everybody, it's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation. We will
Alright.
talk to you all next week.
All right. Cheers.